I understand.
Yeah, but
that's why I muddled it up. So it is not
when you think, for instance, think this. You can think आम का पेड़ है. Suppose that I will say आम का पेड़ है. Do you have an image of आम का पेड़? Do you have an image of पेड़? Distinct from that. Doesn't really come that clear, no?
No.
Technically, it has to be there. Otherwise, you can't think. It comes.
It came to my mind.
So you had आम का पेड़, and then you thought of that from
Yes.
Now, okay. Now that पेड़, is it available in केले का पेड़? So then it can't be the image generality of पेड़. So पेड़ would have to be over
yeah,
image. So image generality by what we mean is something that is going to pervade all instances of it.
Yeah.
That's how he's qualifying it. जो भी बोल, that's generic image. We say
Generic image.
आम का पेड़ generic में होगा ना?
Yeah, but
पेड़ नहीं होगा.
पेड़ क्यों होगा?
वो पेड़ नहीं
आम के
होगा.
पेड़ के ऊपर, when some, you know how this debate is a very nice debate. If you see a white cow, and your mother says this is a white cow, when you go around the streets and you see black cow, pink cow, grey cow, whatever, you remember cow. You do, right? So after having seen that white cow, your mind had to have created an image which is so common, which is going to be able to permit recognition of drastically different instances. That, what I'm saying is, meaning general. Whereas when you close your eyes, you can still recall the white cow.
Yeah.
That is
Image.
generality. How he
What you actually
distinguishes. Yeah, that same recollection of that image.
Now,
Image generality, surprisingly, funnily, interestingly, is going to pervade all momentary instances of that white cow that you saw also. So it, in itself, is called generality because it pervades all white cow instances.
It filters out all the common
One
those body
minute,
things.
now 1 minute, outside of locality is nomenclature.
Yeah.
According to...
No, in Tibetan it's always just Gunji, it's just
So
generality.
there is no distinction
No, I've never.
made
Between,
there is a distinction, okay, there is some debate, but technically speaking,
I've never heard.
there is the referent of the object, there is the
Sound generality?
meaning.
That's the one that I've heard in Tibetan.
Now
That might,
please,
but
now you
it's
can-
actually a good thing that you said it because it'll help clarify a lot of issues in Pravana where they do this Shisham ka peड़ and पेड़ होता है कि नहीं होता है. This whole debate, this will help in using those terms. I wish we had those terms in Tibetan. Anyway, yeah, those were third party reviews.
Yeah, our objects are
So
the
the
third
thing
person.
is, and the mind. The mind is a
किसी और का होगा.
किसी और होगा. And all from the third party perspective, all are imputed as a resistor.
Near imputed, not just imputed.
I'll get to mayor later. Because mayor to me means quite a bit of negation. I'm not fully comfortable with that. It's only the negation of projectivity. I'm not comfortable with it.
ठीक है.
मतलब ये will probably work a lot because it works
So
so very
now
nice.
just your
How it will flow through. The part that you showed is very nice.
It
Thank
comes
you for
with
that.
that. And one thing that I just thought, when we are saying when you think for yourself, it's almost as in negation of externality has a sense of subjectivity with it because when you say it doesn't exist externally, it's created by the mind, you're adding a subjectivity to it.
Yeah.
That subjectivity, by the way, is evidence that Chitta accept objectivity. Now, it sounds like a word game, but what it basically means is the mind itself is also an object.
Right.
So if it is coming entirely through mind, it is not reliant on imputation. So the fact that Chitta Matra calls it creation entirely through Anaya is evidence of them accepting objectivity. If you keep all these things in mind, then when you do this, when you do Madhyamaka Vadana, then you find those things really important. Because the biggest proponents of production from other are Chitta. They're the biggest proponents of production from other. But they say production of other as a subject from mind. So externality does not mean it has to be not included at all.
But if Chittamatra considers mind to be the only thing that exists, but then objective existence is subjective existence, right?
It's subjective in this sense. It's not subjective as imputed by mind. Imputed, the difference between imputed and created by mind is, yes, but imputed is like, just creating
but it's not fair, kind of not fair to equate the two because then their idea of subjective is completely different.
Yeah, exactly. But since the English There's
that I
this
understand.
linguistic thing. To recall that is like it helped me a lot.
Yeah.
No, subjectivity को नहीं, subjectivity that's their proof of objectivity. Intuitive means you just think it. That's what intuitive means.
Made by mind. You see, this is very interesting. Ratisha said the other day that we keep on using the word imputed without understanding. In Sanskrit, the imputed means made by mind.
वो तो फिर आप चित्रमाता के
हाँ?
वो तो आप everything is made by his mind.
No.
No.
But mind is not made by mind. Na? Mind is there only objectively. Make the difference.
It's
Na?
nonsense. You see, like
So imputation, I'm saying the meaning of imputation is that it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
made by mind.
That is right.
That's all.
Independence on something.
Huh?
That's what he's heading there.
And even existing things are mere.
Imputed by
But
something.
non-existing things are not mere.
On some basis.
On a basis.
On a basis.
Relying on-
Whereas reality doesn't need a basis.
Therefore,
So
it's
that's a
objective. And non-existence.
In fact, I still remember Dr. Ramuse was making a statement.
So
People
imputed
may
means
say
basically
something a person.
leading a
sorry.
basis.
People may say
Where is
person is from higher school.
Chitmatmas, there's no need for basis.
जब आप सपने देख के बाहर कुछ देख रहे हैं, that's the best example.
Sorry.
That's why. But they say.
हाँ यार मजाक नहीं है. They debated for 7 years. So I would say.
Sorry, Aziz, I didn't get you.
सोच के ही बनाया था. It's not like a snake just being invented on the
I
way.
can't ever understand.
It had to be invented by the mind. Being made by the mind and being imputed by the mind are different. Even knowledge is totally different. So externality rejected by Chittamatra is it is not made by particles, it's made by mind. Particles have, they go infinitely, कोई problem नहीं है. Each infinite rejection has something that's infinite.
So what's the relation between two minds?
Which to mind?
What is your question? Like my mind and your mind.
This is a big thing. In Chittamatra, it's a huge problem.
वो बोला ना वो सारे imputed भी हो गए और
I
भी हो
know,
गए.
Dharma keeps me going to text on this. The problem is if everything is coming through my mind. What the hell am I talking about? Your mind. So
How is it
Dharma
that we see the same way?
he had to write a whole text on this. But he quotes it. So what his thing is, because we have such karma that has brought us all in this place, the image of you that I have is not the real thing. But it doesn't talk of an externality. And then it's like a premonition. Like, you know, early in the morning you see things which then reveal themselves to be real.
I don't do that.
नहीं होता तो उनके साथ होता है वो इसको एग्जांपल देके बोलते हैं so they say that the thing that you're seeing is not the real thing but you can gauge from the appearance and
No,
the
I even understand
That's
that.
that. So you- I'm not
you
saying
see a
really, you're
version
not
and I
saying
see a
really.
version. I get that. But nevertheless, those versions intersect at the same point, right?
yeah but the intersection of the same point in matter and consciousness is different in matter they don't intersect at all in matter there's no common locus whatsoever
That can't be, right?
if you remove externality they can't be, right
Yeah.
whereas consciousness since you've not removed externality and you're positing the existence of consciousness then you get stuck with this problem what about consciousness what about you
Yeah, how is
What
the
about you?
communication also?
I haven't told myself I don't know. But it's a thing, you should know. And I had this question I asked him also, but this is only answer he said. He said this. He said, no, so when you see matter, you can say what I see is the real matter. It's fine. Because it's a mental world. When you see another person, that image is not the real person. You can't say it. Because then that matter, person will have substance-wise created by you, so there's a contradiction. They do, they do. In the 70s, Dharmakirti was a minor one.
No, but Dharmakirti is contradicting that, right?
No, Dharmakirti is proving it because
He's
he's
defending
Chittamatra. He's Chittamatra. So there's this text called Bhushan Yuga, which is positing other being, and that's all about this. And so mere appearance. The mere reputation has to have a connotation that it is imputed, reliant on something. Mere appearance is not actual. So even non-existing things are mere appearance, but they're not imputed. because they don't rely on
Even this definition of person size adds that on the basis of the 5 aggregates, I is equal to
So it is on the basis of designation of object. But it's not like the attribute of it. You studied, you done if you read in the beginning, the reason why this is such an important text, this is what this is. The positive and conventional equals are a lot more subtle to something. Until you get to the summit, when you kind of almost active by negating conscious particles, you kind of stop by saying it's almost. But then by negating that also, what the scientific says, ultimately more performance or confidence, conventionally more performance. So that's why we decided to do.
Say that again.
Ultimately more performance for Tantrika, conventionally more performance for Tamatra.
Ultimately more profound is Madhyamika Sutrantika.
And conventionally
more profound is Tamatra.
because the imputation is
Because for Tantrika and Madhyamika doesn't, they negate in that text, they negate a lot of things, but they don't posit how things function. Whereas the big positing of functionality is Chitta with alaya, self-organizing, and all those things. So because the holiness of the Chitta don't have any other option than to posit things not being external. Because the second you say there's no particle particle, and you still hold on to reification of objectivity, you've got no other alternative than to bring it Chitta Matra. You don't have a choice. And that's why their entire community is Tantrika is not an interesting book. Tantrika, by the way, we notice there is a lot of Tantrika text that follows other information. So Tantrika is a point of view that comes out through clarification that somebody put up in Tantrika. So there is no Tantrika text that goes out to posit the existence of the world and how it is. That's something that we take and send it forward from various Tantrika. But normally, when you Samana Vatika and Sangha and all of that, they posit conventionality by positing this is liar, yeah, they just moment text, then they have written a treatise that puts forth the Sutantrika and they just have to.
Yeah, personal questions.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very curious to know about your career. As in career as I read for a long time.
And then afterwards,
Like
now,
before that.
Actually,
And you are the father, right? And I'm also curious to know your views on that. So, because see, I have so much.
Okay, wait. I have one question. Now,
Okay,
after that,
sir.
all this. No, I just want someone to repeat, the distinction that Gisela had made about how Prasangika understands direct.
I asked that question.
And how they understand direct. Because direct is not in opposition to conceptual,
She's an expert.
but it's in opposition to reasoning.
Independence by depending on reasoning.
So, I mean, I get the words, but that's all I get.
Right. So, okay. So basically, as far as lower schools are concerned, they say how do you get to something? You get to it without a meaning generality, without a generic image, or you get to it through a generic image. Let's put that on one. Sangeeta says, how do you get to something? You get to something either through reasoning or without having to use reasoning. So if you first, so how am I getting to something? If you drop now what the lower school has said, I get to something without using the reasoning, I am getting to it directly. I get to something through using my reasoning, I am going to it indirectly.
So you're saying when you're going through reasoning, you're going through meaning generality.
No.
What are you saying?
So you
जो
don't mix it.
lower schools हैं अभी तक उनके लिए direct versus conceptual था. What does that mean? That direct is not using generic image, conceptual uses generic image. So I was getting to something directly by passing the generic image. That's the lower school. The Sangeeta Counter says when you get to something directly means you are not having to use any reason.
Reasoning. So distinction is between reasoning and
Okay, so what's the
conceptuality.
difference between reasoning and conceptual?
So now we should work it out. So basically so what they're saying is that, okay, so let's say second moment of inferential cognition. First moment of inferential cognition, does it use reasoning or not? Yes. Yeah? Now if it is second moment of inferential cognition, means it's a subsequent cognizance. Subsequent cognizance is induced through the power of the first moment of consciousness. So this is a debate apparently, but we are just taking it per se. So now let's say we are agreeing that second moment of inferential cognition did not have to use reasoning because it is induced through the power of the first one. So that means the second moment of inferential cognition, is it conceptual? Yes. Did it use a generic image? Yes. Did it have to use reasoning?
I get the theory that it doesn't use reasoning.
So let's work out the formal
No,
relationship. between
I
the
understand that. I understand that. What I'm trying to say is that in the lower schools, it's easy for me to understand that the direct happens outside of the concept. Like it's non-conceptual, basically. That's what direct is, right? In opposition to
using a generic image.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is that if in Prasangika, it's without reasoning, having reasoned it so much that now I no longer need reasoning. That is what direct is, right?
No, I think he gave a very simple example. He said if there is somebody who is very kind, I say Ajit is very kind and I know that Ajit is very kind, then there is no reasoning employed in knowing that Ajit is very kind. That's the example that he gave without reasoning. Right? Huh?
Very simplistic example to a very complicated process.
No, but there is reasoning employed. You know
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
There is no employment of reasoning. I mean, I don't have to go through reasoning to know something is something, right? That Ajit is
But
kind.
it still depends on some evidence, right? How would you know that?
What about
It's evident. So there is no reasoning.
Reasoning code
Reasoning is not required.
That doesn't
Required.
that experience doesn't mean.
Memory, just think memory, don't go down. Just close your eyes and like you see this. When you close your eyes, you still see an image of this. That mind doesn't require reason, it's conceptual. So that will be done. So I think the more relevant question is it just as simplistic as using different terms, or is there some other reason for them saying direct as opposed to not using reason?
This came up in class already, and Imran Yeshana answered that because I think you asked this
I asked this question
question.
because I struggled with this.
And he said is that basically the beauty of Prasangika philosophy is that it complies with the convention. Now within the convention, we are talking to an ordinary person trying to tell them what is direct consciousness, what is indirect consciousness. Which is oh, if you use a means vocabulary, a generic image, the person is not understanding their perceptual clarity like that. But if you say, did you use reasoning? Did you not use reasoning? This is much more going with the common parlance.
Like
It
it
also
also
will
will
tie
be
up.
what your framework is to change the framework.
Yeah.
It is actually very beautiful. What I found very beautiful in the class was we started the class with the inference, 4 kinds of inferences, out of which there was the terminological suitability or
Renowned.
convention and the label. And we spoke so much about the fact that we stick the label to the referent of the label and then the object को भी हम object का कर देते हैं. तो हमारे साथ वही process हो रहा है. And it's beautiful to see it in action. That now we had a certain idea of what is direct, what is conceptual, which also was taught to us. And now,
Not to know.
and before that we never had such a concept of direct and conceptual and generic image we never सुना ही नहीं था. And now suddenly somebody is telling me no. So you see how the mind becomes so solid and there's no pliability in being able to jump
What were the 3
around.
stages Geshara mentioned there? There were 3 stages
Yes.
of the name and the thing.
Yes.
And, what was that? Do you remember that?
Yes. So there is the label of the object. Then you first label something. Then you stick the label to that thing. You objectify the label.
So the name and the thing will become one.
Now the name and the thing. Then there are characteristics
Right.
that you ascribe. It is good, it is bad. Those characters also
They also then
intrinsically exist.
get
in the
stuck onto
object.
that.
Yeah,
So a
yeah.
flower will appear always as flower is always beautiful. It has no, it's nothing to do with
Right.
that. So now the
Pizza is
characteristic
always
also
tasty.
got stuck.
Yeah.
Then on top of it, first we have just stuck the label to the thing. The thing itself is also objective.
Is objectified.
Yes.
Subjective. The thing
For
is
us.
objective. So the thing is objective, and the name is stuck onto that objective thing, and the characteristics are stuck. Now maybe
Not
there is.
just to that objective thing, we are objectifying the label with, anyway.
Yeah,
Actually, there is another reason
No,
why.
one moment. So there is one more thing I want to add,
Yes, please.
and I think going back to previous, that whenever a thing appears to the mind,
Yes.
you know, how we relate to that also appears simultaneously.
Yes.
So there is a residue of a feeling,
Yes.
I like, I don't like.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
now this thing, this objective thing with this label, with this characteristic, I like. So the moment it appears, that feeling appears.
Yeah, these are the 5 omnipresent factors if you remember in psychology.
Feeling, intention,
One
contact.
of them was this.
Feeling.
Yeah.
Feeling is the first.
Yeah, so it's always there.
Okay, so that was the third. Third was the objectivity. We stick on the objectivity.
No, first we create a label and the label is objectively stuck with the object.
At this moment, the thing is not objective.
Right now he didn't start like that. Of course it is. But what we've done is we see something, we label it table, and now the label of the table is objectively stuck to this
Stuck to the-
object. So this is table. This cannot be anything else. It is objectively a table.
Right.
This objectively resistant table is objectively beautiful.
Right.
And the table to begin with is also objective.
So let me clarify, the reason I was asking is that when we do direct versus conceptual in Buddhist psychology, it's also the reason for arranging the minds in that 7-point system, right? Because the first one, direct, is the desirable one that you want to achieve, right? So here when Prasangika is making that division between direct and without reasoning, is that the direct that is supposed to be the goal?
That still is the goal.
Yes.
That still is the goal.
Yes, because you always
Both
start
and
with
if
the
that-
direct,
Yeah.
then you
Direct
go to
perception of
inference.
happiness.
So it's the second direct, right? I mean, like you first start with direct,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you
the
go
second
to
direct.
the second direct is non-dual.
Yes.
So that is what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
So there is the slight. So that's
So
what I
that
was
would be
trying
the
to.
third.
Huh?
As per you, it would be the third.
No, that's fine. But for me, is that the non-dual is without reasoning and conceptual. How can
It is
non-dual
not
be
conceptual,
conceptual?
it's non-conceptual. Non-dual is
Non-dual is
always
not
It cannot be
conceptual. I
conceptual.
understand that.
Yeah. Non-dual is also without reasoning.
Huh.
Okay.
Non-dual
If that-
is
if
without
that- if that
reasoning,
makes you happy.
but without reasoning is conceptual, can be conceptual.
Without reasoning can be considered.
Can be
So
conceptual.
then that's the problem
So
now.
then there can be something that is not relied on.
Huh.
There is a formal relation. There is a formal
That I
relation.
understand.
Then there is a formal relation.
So then there is a clarification to be made in direct. है ना? Or am I wrong?
नहीं मतलब आपको
मैं बोल रही हूँ direct.
ना, और मैं नहीं समझ रहा।
What if it is positive?
ये formal relation,
कितनी
formal.
मुश्किल से मैं पहुंच गई वहाँ।
हाँ, formal.
How do we is reasoning not coterminous with conceptual?
No.
No.
Why not?
This formal relation.
Is reasoning not coterminous with conceptual? Do
Formal
you
relation.
not employ conceptuality in reasoning?
You employ conceptuality in reasoning, but it doesn't imply that for it to be conceptual you have to employ it. It's different.
So be conceptual? No, yeah, that's right.
That's what it's saying.
But reasoning is pervaded by being conceptual.
Reasoning is
Conceptuality is not
pervaded
pervaded
by
by being reasoning.
Reasoning is pervaded by conceptuality.
Right, not the other way.
Not pervaded.
Right, fair enough.
So
Okay, so
when
then how would you employ conceptuality? So in this, okay, in the lower schools.
Conceptuality in the
No,
lower school.
but conceptuality, the fact that if we are using a generic image is something agreed by personality. They agree on the definition of what is conceptual. That remains common.
I think there's a reason why
No,
the
I
reasoning is
understand.
involved in Prasangika specifically.
Also, it's not that you forget the
Must-
first.
There must be some.
The reason why
No, but that's the
those
thing, right?
scholars-
When he says you start with direct, you go to conceptual and then you read direct again. So when that direct then includes both the direct, right?
No,
Which may well be
that,
direct already. If you want to follow this, but that direct will be not conceptual.
yeah,
So
now
anything on
according to
आपका ये हो
Prasanna,
गया, तो आपका ये हो रहा है. There's direct and there's conceptual with reasoning.
Huh.
that will become, it will become vipassana, it will become non-reasoning, so by Prasangika standard it will become direct, and then it will become non-dual direct. So that's actually true.
Yeah, that's
Actually true.
Yes, last class now. 5:30, okay? 9 minutes.
आपको वो कैसे पूछना है?
But I think,
I always confuse people.
What is
What is
right?
right?
Just ask that. I think it's good because this is, I think it's quite relevant. It's very relevant.
The first one, no, initial.
The external. How can you talk about imputation and still have it?
ये पता है किसी ने ये किसी से पूछा था पहले भी नहीं पूछा था क्वेश्चन है
पूछना चाहिए और अभी नहीं बोल जवाब
पूछा था and नहीं he didn't answer he just said why does it have to be one or the other
that's what he said so then you can say if imputed means it was made by the mind if it's made by the mind then how can it be external ये पूछ लो
how can it be external?
ये पूछ लो if it's made by
it's not made by the mind
It is projection.
Let Jen say what he says. You have to be able to carry, when you plan questions, if he gives you one comeback and you get stuck, then your question will get stuck. If you plan it further, then if he says, why does it have to be separate? Because it is made by the mind, it is made by the mind, then why does it need to be external? Then he will solve it. If you want.
good trick
You have to do that.
No, but that's the purpose of the question.
Also, you have to do the question that you ask, you will only get answers to the question that you ask. If you get stuck with one answer, they also might assume that चलो ठीक है उसका जो doubt था वो हट गया. But Andre might be like remember how you so you should burn it out before. But ये आता है तो फिर ये
But you know, once I just wanted to share this from this other text, Malaysia Ningko, of Namusankara, comes this very interesting distinction in how Prasangika understand conventional truth. You know, Prasangikas say to the others that when you speak of conventional truth, all of your conventional truths are intrinsic. We never accepted intrinsicality, even conventionally. You know? So for us, the conventional truth is not intrinsic.
For
Prasangika.
Yeah.
That is the big difference between Prasangika and non-Prasangika. That when we talk, so in one sense, in the movement, and this maybe Atisha can deal with it, you know, in one sense, the movement from conventional, the conventional is without intrinsic. So the movement from conventional, because the two truths, the presentation of two truths for the others is very different.
Right.
For here, there is not too much gap between conventional and the other. You know?
Well, I don't know.
See, conventional is without intrinsic.
Yeah.
If it is without intrinsic, how is it so different from the other?
Yeah, you're asking.
Yeah, you understand?
From Prasangika point of view, it's a very correct. From the Prasangika point of view,
Only from
Prasangika
finishing with
बिल्कुल
Very key. That's why that.
वो कहते हैं लोग मानते हैं इंट्रिंसिक नहीं मानते
बिल्कुल
हमें इंट्रिंसिक वो माने we will go with the convention इसका नाम ये
Why this not
पर ये इंट्रिंसिक है ये हम आसान नहीं
Because it is all conventional for the university.
Moved like a bit near to
अब
be
क्या
there for my
कहते
father's
हैं
sake for the
I know, but one is
funeral. So now my elder sister's there, my cousin's there. We have to keep taking, what is it, turns and it's very expensive turns also. So long way to go now. But you came as a shock. That's what you
You
know.
were fond of her? When did your mother?
She passed away when I was 22. So my children have known, I had my daughter when I was 24, so they've known no
I
other,
have seen 20. Yeah.
got married at 21, so they knew no other grandmother.
And your own mother.
Yeah.
Your own mother.
Yeah, my own mother never knew them, so this was their grandmother.
No, no.
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
this. And the
So
last
she was my aunt, she was
your own
my
mother
aunt.
died.
My own mother died of
This whole
cancer when she
cycle of
was
how
just
you
54.
And you were
I
how
was
old?
23 and I was 20.
This verse. But you got married before
I got married at 21. And then my daughter was born when I was 20.
Antonelli asked him a question about
23 in fact, and she was just born when my mother passed away. So then my father, my aunt, we'd known all our lives. She knew us as babies. She had not married. She was much younger than my mother.
She was
So,
married.
yeah. So
Mother, sister.
Mother, sister. So my father married her, which caused great confusion amongst us.
But I think, Tejan,
Don't you think 54 is an ancient
really a
Roman,
very
huh?
good way how you have really put this mayor. The word mayor, only अगर जब वहाँ पहुँचे तब जाके वापस आए तब हम मेयर को
That's given terrible.
हाँ ये तो हमारे छोटे
He always thought he was going to go first. I said, you should never say
without
that.
him say only the
Cessation.
oh
Those, you
If you
can't say
remember,
who's going
the
first.
cessation of karma
She was
and
91.
देखो देखा
which arise from elaboration of grasping into existence,
I
which
always
sees the evil of
Jesus and another case.
And she was
Now, now you work in the reverse. You work in the reverse. Emptiness, and from that the first moment of fabrication. The first moment. On emptiness. You know, so this is the elaboration. Elaboration becomes distorted, which becomes karma and emptiness.
She worked, she didn't work, she didn't stop. They said that and I think maybe because at that age if you smoked all your life and like a true person, she was always a chain smoker, probably the oxygen
Or just a little choking going on.
But as my father said, you all grumbled about her smoking, but she never died of smoking.
Then you are
But it's very sad. Now my sister's the elder sister, then my cousin's there, then my other sister's wife. Then, so for 2-3 months, it was
Wonderful. You speak very well now. Very nice.
and then if something's not left, whether it's a mess or not, if you leave something in one spot, it goes and shifted you.
My God, I can't find my book.
I say, yes, you can. I put something in my cupboard very soon.
It's a nice place. Very nice.
And I need notes from it. On the back of the invitation card, I God swear.
It's very cool. My sister, her car got stuck. She's having a husband, he's got, she's got car, and their car got stuck. They had to walk 3 kilometers in the snow. Neither of them are very fit. My father said, it will do you good. But it's very difficult. You see this, what is it? Suffering of age.
And death, and bereavement.
And for him, it's a shock. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
I've noticed this. My mother.
You're both giving checks to each other?
Just said like that was the situation. So I went first. My husband was the
Okay, prestations together. Okay, please come. Come. With folded hands, I see the Buddhas of all directions, Krishna, Dhamma, Dharma, for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I receive the Buddhas of all directions, Krishna, Dhamma, Dharma, for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I receive the Buddhas of all directions, Krishna, Dhamma, Dharma, for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I receive the Buddhas of all directions, Krishna, Dhamma, Dharma, for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I receive the Buddhas of all directions, Krishna, Dhamma, Dharma, for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions for all the mysteries flow. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all the mysteries flow. Okay, thank you. Please take your seats. Okay. Setting a proper motivation. Your refuge field, what to visualize and how to visualize. Visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the sky in front of you. And how you visualize them. They are like your very affectionate parents, and you come home demoralized. And your parents are waiting there with full love, affection, attention, so forth. Bodhicitta field, again, what to visualize and how to visualize. Visualize your two parents from your two sides, and all your dear mothers and children around you, leaving them aside. And here you are the mother, and all others are like your children. And imagine they come home demoralized, and you are there to give full love, affection, attention, so forth. And the purpose of this class is finally to wisely discover the ultimate source of happiness that exists within each one of us, also referred to as the Tathagata Garbha or the Buddha nature. Like a gold mixed with soil, you don't see the gold there. But in the eyes of the experts, they see gold there. They prove this by removing or extracting the soil out of the gold and slowly the what is there as a gold starts to shine and glow. Likewise, the mental defilements, as we remove them, the Buddha nature within us will start to glow. And we discover that there's an incredible treasure of enlightenment, incredible treasure of ultimate happiness within us. So how to discover this fully, how to unravel this fully, is by first of all knowing the nature of the defilements which obscure this incredible treasure. And the defilements become to know that there are two kinds, the gross and the subtle. The gross one also referred to as afflictive obscurations, the presence which stops us from achieving personal or achieving nirvana, freedom from suffering, freedom from samsara. And this gross afflictions or the afflictive obscurations consist of three kinds, or three types: contaminated karmas, afflictions, and the active seeds. And all these three somehow boil down to the activation on the basis of the self-grasping ignorance. So for that matter, to knowing that this is the nature of the defilements which stop us from achieving freedom from suffering, freedom from samsara, we need to employ the remedy. And the remedy, because that they all boil down to the ignorance, the remedy should be the wisdom. And the ignorance, particularly pertaining to viewing things as object real, the wisdom, the corresponding wisdom should be the wisdom to see the reality as it is by seeing the emptiness of objective existence of things, of the self and others. And this wisdom must be supported by a driving force in the form of motivation. So the motivation, very strong desire, fervent desire to achieve freedom from suffering, to achieve freedom from samsara, that must be the aim. So that is known as a renunciation. So motivated by the power of renunciation, then we employ the wisdom of emptiness. It will automatically take us to achieve total freedom from suffering. This is one part. And the subtle stains, also referred to as the cognitive obscurations, the presence of which stops us from achieving total enlightenment, Buddhahood. And the subtle stains, they are in the form of the inactive seeds of the afflictive obscurations. And the force, because that it is the inactive seeds of the self-grasping ignorance, which marks the whole of the afflictive obscurations. So therefore, the remedy remains the same, the wisdom to see the emptiness of objective existence, but here the motivation differs. Motivation should be more powerful. So the motivation on top of the renunciation we already had, we had to add to it bodhicitta. So driven by the force of bodhicitta, grounded in the renunciation, then when we employ this wisdom of emptiness, this helps us to eradicate all the subtle stains of mind, thus taking us to the state of total enlightenment, Buddhahood. Okay, so with this in mind, and you are leading this, so this being the background, the purpose of us studying this, and of course, this wisdom. Of course, the renunciation we have to cultivate separately, the bodhicitta we have to cultivate separately at this moment. For that, the wisdom just as the negative forces such as the attachment, anger, jealousy, self-grasping, ignorance, so forth, and the self-centered attitude, they are so spontaneous and they are so intense. The remedy as well must be very intense and very spontaneous. And this remedy of the wisdom of emptiness, not only spontaneous and intense, it must be in the fullest form, which is known as the non-dual wisdom of emptiness. So to acquire this degree of the proficiency, this degree of the quality of the wisdom, the non-dual wisdom of emptiness, it must be preceded by the conceptual experience of a very spontaneous and intense experience of the wisdom of emptiness. And this conceptual, so finally the non-conceptual works to eradicate all the mental defilements, and this non-conceptual, for that we need to have the the conceptual preceding that, and for the conceptual experience, intense and rigorous experience of the emptiness, we need to have gain a very deep conviction that how things exist as empty of objective existence is really true. So this conviction must be gained through what is known as the wisdom derived through reflection. So wisdom derived through reflection, once you gain the conviction through this, then we habituate in this. Habituating in this known as the wisdom derived through meditation. So for us to reach to that level of the meditation, that level of the conviction gained through the reflection, we must have extensive learning, because this subject is very profound, and if we don't have extensive learning, it can potentially take us to turn it into a very mechanical experience, where nor the force will come to us, and just let alone the experience of the emptiness as very rigorous and intense. So for that matter, to make it very rich, we need a rich and extensive learning. So for that, the study of the 10 systems, the study of the emptiness, the study of bodhicitta, the study of the panoramic, the picture of the Bodhisattva path and the Buddhist path is crucial. So as a part of that, the study, we are engaging in this program, the Navin Master's course. So with this in mind, so this is how we are being so wise, we are being so fortunate that we encounter with this program, and through the blessings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and we are very fortunate. So with this, imagine that all sentient beings, they are happily joining you, and you are leading this, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are watching us with tremendous joy and pride. Okay, page 3. And Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. And Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. And Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Pambe chere, tambe chene tenze ba, godam de la chase lo. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no rising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the Supreme Among all teachers, the one who taught this peace which is free of elaborations. Hangi denje de wara jung, gaba me ba ke me ba, che ba me ba ta me, to me ba ta de me denje me, che ba nyer she den ba, zo be sang ye ma nam ye, tam ba de la cha se lo. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all these hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of past causes was having my greatest to achieve the aims of the world, and through the possession of omniscience help subduers expand a variety of teachings. Yendo jiva sonam gunshe nishe tenze kanyendo Tolo pembara jenab namshe nige jigden dundu ze barakan Khanda yanda dembe tuna namba gun Nazo de somba nyendo chanchu sembe soji sangye gin Yumde la chase lo. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teacher. Samara Yoruba Jola Vijaba Dumba Deshe Jola Chaselo, the one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations, yet is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light raised. To you, the Buddha, make prostrations. Tobe Tawa Namsejin, Sabjin Gyache Gumawa, Kundu Sambo Zeda, Kune Chola Chaselo. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sanje joda soge chonamda, chanjo bardo dani gyapso che, dage jinso gebe sonamgi, yola benjir sanje du barejo, sanje joda soge chonamda, chanjo bardo dani gyapso che, dage jinso gebe sonamgi, yola benjir sanje du barejo, sanje joda soge chonamda, chanjo bardo dani gyapso che, sonamgi, dola benjir sanje du barejo. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I chant the mantra of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum te shantatagato yavatat te sham chayo nirodham evam vati mahashramanaye svaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum Esham chayo nirodham evam vati mahashramanaye svaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum te shantatagato yavatat esham chayo nirodham evam vati mahashramanaye svaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well as taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-minded and non-composite. Such is the nectar-like dharma I have discovered, finding no one to fathom this teaching in silence or retirement of words. Sabji dvede vese du maje, duze dabu shushi kuwenye, sula she nyang kuwara menube, mema nagi nasu ne barasham. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space, is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas, of the 3 times I obey obeisance. Masam jume shara paruji, magye mega namge ngoni, sozo rangre ishi chub, tuzum geva yomla chase lo. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, the likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of all. I go for refuge in the Guru. Lama Sangye Lama Che, Deshin Lama Gendunde, Kunge Chebo Lama, Lama Namla Chase Lo. By the sound of vibrant drum of Dharma, please liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of aeons. Chunga Jimbo Dayene, Senje Dunga Darge Jin, Keba Chewa Samyesu, Chudun Zejin Shosu. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of the beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realization shall not transfer to them. It is by teaching the truth of suchness that the beings are liberated. Tumnam Deva Chuye Midrojin, Drove Dunga Chage Mesela. Yige doba shenla pomende, chunye demba dembe chubare guru. With folded hands I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildering miseries gloom. Chonam gunge sanje la, temo jarde soane, sinje dunge menton, chuge jume bardus. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Sedila jena juba mene, korwa la jena nyejo mene, rando la jena chanze mene, zimba chuna dawa mene. Okay, page 14, praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one born beyond the four destroyer, the completely perfected, full awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct. Sugadhar, know the world, supreme God of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the complete and full awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans who are born on this earth, you paced our 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With a supreme science, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust be like you, the 3 worlds are not, incompatible wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dhamma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy feet qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual apparition, a flame lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through this merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the 4 faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Okay, page 19, Sun illuminating the threefold faith, praise to the 17 masters. Born from great compassion, aspiring to help all beings, God of gods, you have attained the Savior's state of abandonment and realization. And you guide beings through the discourse of dependent origination. O able one, the son of speech, I bow my heart to you. I implore you at your feet, O Nagarjuna, the most skilled in elucidating such free elaborations, the meaning of sutras, the mother of conquerors, through the profound reasoning of dependent origination. In accord with the conqueror's prophecy, you initiated the middle way, the supreme vehicle. I implore you to your principal son, Bodhisattva Aryadeva, most learned and realized, who has crossed the ocean of Buddhist and non-Buddhist tenet systems, and is the crown jewel among those who uphold Nagarjuna's treatises. I implore you, O Buddha Padita, who has reached the supreme adept state, and who has clearly elucidated Nagarjuna's intent, the final meaning of dependent origination, the profound point of mere designation and its mere label. I implore you, O Master Bhavaviveka, a fully accomplished Pandita, you initiated the philosophical traditions wherein, while negating extremes of truly existent things, arising so forth, you uphold commonly verified knowledge in external reality. I implore you, O Chandrakirti, you disseminated all the paths of Sutra and Tantra. You are most skilled in teaching the profound and the vast aspect of the middle way, the union of appearance and emptiness dispelling the 2 extremes. By means of dependent origination, there is mere conditionality. I implore you, O Bodhisattva Shantideva, skilled at revealing to the assembly of fortunate spiritual trainees, excellent path of compassion that is greatly wondrous, through a multitude of reasoning most profound and vast. I implore you, O Master Bharshandarakshita, who initiated the tradition of the non-dual middle way in accordance with the trainee's middle. You are versed in the reasoning mode of both middle way and logic, and you have disseminated the conqueror's teaching in the land of snows. I implore you at your feet, O Kamalashila, who, having explained excellently the stages of meditation on the middle way view, through elaborations, and the union of tranquility and insight in accordance with the Sutra and Tantra, flawlessly elucidated the conqueror's teaching in the land of snows. I implore you at your feet, O Asanga, who, sustained by Maitreya, were versed in disseminating excellently all Mahayana scriptures,
and taught the vast path, and who in accord with the conqueror's prophecy initiated the tradition of mind only. I implore you at your feet, O Master Vasubandhu, you who, while upholding the systems of the seven Abhidhamma treatises as well as non-duality, illuminated the tenets of Vaibhashika, Sautrantika and mind only, foremost among learned ones, you are renowned as the second omniscient one. I implore you at your feet, O Dignaga, the logician, you who, in order to present the Buddha's way through evidence-based reasoning, open 100-fold gateways of the system of logic and offer it as a gift to the world, the eyes of critical intelligence. I implore you at your feet, O Dharmakirti, you who, understanding all the essential points of both Buddhist and non-Buddhist epistemology, through broad conviction in all the profound and vast paths of Sautrantika and mind only by means of reasoning, you are most versed in teaching the excellent Dharma. I implore you at your feet, O Arya Vimuktisena, you who lit the lamp that illuminates the meaning of the ornament treatise, wherein the themes of the perfection of wisdom stemming from Asanga and his brother were expounded in accord with the middle way view, free of existence and non-existence. I implore you, O Master Haribhatra, who were prophesied by the conqueror as expounder of the meaning of the mother, the perfection of wisdom, you elucidated the excellent treatise on the perfection of wisdom, the three mothers, in perfect accord with the instruction of the Savior Maitreya. I implore you at your feet, O Gunaprabha, and scholarship, who, having excellently distilled the inner intent of 100,000 disciplinary teachings, expounded the individual liberation vows flawlessly according to the tradition of the Sarvastivada school. I implore you at your feet, O Shakyaprabha, supreme upholder of discipline, who reigned over the treasure of the qualities of the three trainings in order to disseminate the stainless Vinaya teachings for a long time. You excellently expounded the meaning of the vast treatises. I implore you, O Cho Adisha, you who, having taught all the profound and vast traditions related to the words of the Buddha, within the framework of the path of the persons of three capacities, were the most kind master of disseminating the Buddha's teaching in the land of snows. Having thus entreated these most learned ornaments of the world, the excellent sources of the wondrous and insufferable teachings, may be blessed so that my mind becomes ripened and free. Through the entreaty I made with a mind unwavering and pure, by understanding the true truths, the ontological reality, will be ascertained how through the four truths we enter and leave samsara. I'll make firm the faith in the three jewels that is born of valid reason. May I be blessed so that the root of the path of liberation is firmly established within me. May I be blessed to perfect the training in renunciation and aspiration for liberation, the total pacification of suffering at its origin, as well as in an uncontrolled bodhicitta that is rooted in an infinite compassion that wishes to protect all sentient beings. May I be blessed so that I may easily develop conviction in all the paths pertaining to the profound points of the perfection and Vajra vehicle, by engaging in study, reflection, and meditation on the meaning of the treatises of the great 12 blazers. May I, in life after life, obtain excellent births that support the three trainings and contribute to the teachings that equal to the 12 blazers, in upholding and disseminating the teaching of the scripture and realization through engaging in exposition and meditative practice. May the members of all spiritual communities spend their time in learning, reflection, and meditation, shunning raw livelihood through the proliferation of sublime masters. May the great face of the earth be beautified throughout all times. Through the power of this supplication, may I traverse all the paths of the Sutra and Tantra, states of conquerors of nations characterized by spontaneous realization and of the two purposes. May I work for the welfare of sentient beings as long as space remains. Okay, Heart Sutra Mantra, page 31. Yata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Swatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhi Swatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhi Swatyata Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Swaha Dhyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Swaha Dhyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Swaha. Page 32, 8 verses of my training. With the determination to achieve the highest aim, for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depth of my heart respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find as if I discover a digital treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrong with abuse, slander and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of hate, mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusions, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. From my true collections, vast space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha of all those whose minds wisdom eyes blinded with ignorance. Okay. Okay. So today is the review of what we already did of the tenet system. For that matter, first thing that we need to keep in mind is we need to know about what is known as the Buddha nature. Buddha nature, meaning that we all say, irrespective of what your background, whether you are following Buddhism or just say any other traditions, or whether you're a believer or non-believer, whether you are a human being, non-human being, whether you're rich, poor, educated, uneducated, we all have the when you explore our own the nature of mind, we say that the nature of mind is so pure for all of us, irrespective of who we are. So this is the reality. So with this, as saying the gold ore, like the gold ore, when you see the gold mixes with the soil, and then the ordinary people will see it as, say, oh, it's just ordinary soil. But in the eyes of the experts, we see that there's a gold there. There's gold there. So how do we know the presence of gold there? Is by removing the dirts. The dirts, then the gold comes out. So the point is that we all have the purity. The purity. We all have the treasure. The point is that we need to gain conviction in the efficacy or the presence of this Buddha nature, or the purity. And then particularly when you converse this concept with other people, no need for us to, say the Buddha nature. We can just say the seed of purity, the seed of perfection, the ultimate treasure of happiness. And this is a fact. So everybody seeks happiness, and everybody seeks, say, perfection. And there's a seed there within us. So this is what we need to know. So then the question is, if this is the case, then how can we make it come out? How can we unravel this treasure within us? How can we unravel it? For that, then pre-Buddha's time, there were so many teachers who came there. And then the Buddha came, and later there were again so many teachers coming up. And then the question arises, say there are so many teachers, there are so many, say the methods rendered. So which one should we adopt? This next question. Okay, so the question is, this is my personal belief that even if we come to realize that the method as presented by the Buddha is the most refined one, but still, and the point is that we are not to, this is my personal take, that we are not to think of, say, having a feeling of, say, the affinity, and which can eventually take us, which can, say, potentially take us to what is known as fundamentalism. That Buddhism, my religion, my affinity. And then when you see someone else, then we see a distinction between when you see a Buddhist, you feel close connected. When you see a non-Buddhist, you see a little distance. Okay, we differ in our views. Okay, this is wrong. This is wrong. The point is, say, like a mother seeing others, say the children, for example, most of us here, and also the people who are on the online listeners, we see that most of us say, what are you doing for another master's course? What are you doing? And then your family background is very different, except for some who are already born as Buddhists. So there, say, if you are the mother, and some of your children, some of them follow Christianity, some of them follow Hinduism, or let's say, to be very precise, some follow, say, Vedanta, some follow Nyaya tradition, Mimamsaka, Vaisheshik, then Judaism and Jainism, Islam, and so forth. But in the eyes of the mother, a very affectionate mother, who is not tainted by the philosophical views. And for the mother, the love and affection, with the same love and affection, will embrace everyone. So this, I think, should be the attitude. This should be the attitude. So the point is that with this attitude, and then go to explore, and not for the sake of debate, not for the sake of arguments, not for the sake of promoting one's tradition, so forth, but for the sake of extracting the greatest meaning for yourself. Say, what can really give me the maximum happiness? This question. And then we also come to know that, for example, recently there was one very young boy, a college student, very young boy, who asked me one question. The question is that, and he's very serious, the question is coming from his heart. What he said is that, do we really need to have a goal in our life? Can't we be happy just leading our life the way the wave of the life carries us? The way the current carries us, we flow with this and be happy with this. Why do we really need to have a goal in our life? So this is what he asked. And then he said that this is really what is bothering me all these years. This is what he said. And I was very happy that there's a very genuine question coming up. It's very the serious and very sincere question coming up from. So there again, we see that, say, if you have a treasure within you, and then if you are unaware, if you're oblivious to the presence of this treasure within you, and then say, like what we call as the ignorance is bliss. So you don't know, you're ignorant of the presence of this treasure within you, and then you feel contented, okay, I'm okay, say, I have no specific goal in my life, but the point is that if there is a treasure, why not we discover it? If there is a treasure. If there is no treasure, then it's fine. If there is a treasure, why not we discover it? For that matter, I told him that we are never to underestimate our own potentials. Never underestimate our own potentials. And nobody can fail you. Nobody can fail you. It is only you who can fail you. If you say that, no, I have no goal in my life, I'm happy, then nobody can force you or take you towards a brighter goal. So the point is that even if you may not have a goal in your life at the moment, but the point is just try to say, interact with other people. Interact with other people, then while in the process, you're bound to meet with more sensible, more evolved people, and then they will give you suggestions, and you see, they will give you some lights. With the lights you go there, you will see the treasure. So this is what we're not to, deprive ourselves of this opportunity. So this is what I said. So in this connection, then the point is how, if I am to explore further, to unravel this hidden treasure within me, which is known as the Buddha nature, or the ultimate source of the happiness within us, ultimate treasure within us. So how to explore this question? So we need to have one thing which is so important is we need to have the openness in our approach. Openness, this is so important. One is the openness. Then number two is the intellectual inquiry, the skill in the intellectual inquiry. These two things are very important. And then number three, of course, the desire to free yourself from suffering. Right? Okay, for the time being, let's not say free all other sentient beings from suffering. Let's start from where we are. So we are born with the, except for a few people, we are born with the selfishness or the self-centered attitude. It doesn't matter. Let's start from there. It's always safe to start from where we are. So we have a self-centered attitude. From there we start, right? So just see how to extract the greatest meaning. Say, I want myself to be freed and I want to have the maximum happiness with this aspiration. And then you think about the suffering nature of samsara, you reflect more. Then we see that if there's something to be done, I really need to do to get rid of all these miseries. Okay, with this aspiration should be there, openness should be there, and the skill in the intellectual inquiry, that should be there. These three things must be there. And these three things, even if some of us may think that I don't have, say for example, the skill in the intellectual inquiry, so again it's a skill that we can develop, that we can cultivate, right? So it is only through learning, say taking part in these classes, that the skill is being slowly, say, cultivated. So even that can be cultivated. And then say the openness, it is up to the individual. So this is nothing. Of course, we can see some people who are very open-minded. From there, you can see them as our examples, role models. Okay, so with these three things, then we go into the explore, and we don't say that what the Buddha said is correct. So I should follow the Buddha's 10 systems. This should not be approached. Say that we should be open-minded, and then explore. For example, say whatever tradition that you reached, that you met with. For example, at the moment we met with the Buddha's teaching. So let's explore. Okay, so I met with the system, the 10 systems of Buddha. So meanwhile, in fact, this book contains the 10 systems of the non-Buddhists as well. So from there, if you are to study them, then just to get an overview of the various traditions, it will not really take us too long. It will not take us too long. We can, in fact, study them. We can get an overall picture within like 1 or 2 years. It will not take us too long. Okay. So with this, the question, the Buddha made it very clear. Buddha made it very clear that, say, my teaching, instruction that I give is of two kinds. One is just advice, and one is the tenets. So what the Buddha is indicating is that some people, when you go to talk about the philosophy, they just feel like, see, it's a kind of nuisance. No, I'm not really interested in these things. So whereas if you say that be kind, be good, they're very happy. Okay, so for those people who are more, say, more engrossed in the goodness of our, say, the day-to-day life, for them the Buddha taught what is known as advice, which is primarily the advice related to how to lead a happy life in this very life. One. And then the second, those people who have some exposure to the intellectual inquiry from the past lives or within this life. In fact, let's say our teacher, Venerable Geshe Pandit Rinpoche, so he always tells me, whenever I have I ask some questions to him, he always tells me that the people you are meeting with, mentioning you, right? Even though your names are not listed, he does not list your names, but he's referring to you, both the online and the regular participants, saying that these people, they already have a modern education. They already are educated so well, so that you don't have to start from scratch, A, B, C, D, no need. So they already have, say, some form of the reasoning. The reasoning system is already established within them. So it is not, required for you to go from detail from the A to from the scratch. Because of which, say, the people who are equipped with such a reasoning, say, the temperament. So for them, the Buddha said that I teach the tenets. So tenets are for the yogis. Yogis doesn't mean, meaning that somebody who has the capacity, to evolve their mind. The real yogi is the mental yogi, right? So now the point is that those who are exposed, I wouldn't say that those who are more intelligent. Everybody has the capacity to become intelligent. The point is whether or not they're exposed to this kind of the system. If whoever is more exposed to the system of inquiry, automatically, next time, the next life, you become more intelligent. You become prone to inquiries and so forth. So for them, and the Buddha said that I teach the tenets. Okay, so why the tenet system, teaching tenet system becomes so important is for the reason that as Buddha indicated, ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum deshan tadhagato hyavatat, that all the miseries that we experience, which we do not like, they come into being by dependence on the causes. And what are the causes? Ultimate cause of all the miseries is the ignorance and its stains, the stains of the ignorance. So now, knowing that ignorance is at the root of all the miseries, so to get rid of this ignorance, then the miseries automatically come to an end. So now next is how to get rid of this ignorance. So to be very sensible, rationally thinking, ignorance is like darkness. Just as the darkness can best be eliminated by introducing light, it is only through introducing the light of the wisdom that the darkness of ignorance can be eliminated. So the next question, what is wisdom? So for that matter, then the tenet system of Buddhism came into being, how to ignite this light of the wisdom. Okay, so in this connection, now let me take a little further. Let's say that how the feelings of happiness, how the feelings of the pains arise. So they arise when we interact, say the sense of I interact with the objects, only then the various experiences come into being, like happiness, misery, satisfaction, pain, anxiety, stress, and then the rest, feeling of the restfulness. All these things come into being when this I as a subject interacts with the objects. Okay, then the question arises that if it is through interaction between the objects and this I as a subject, and of course the subject is part of the subject, there are so many kinds as we learned in the tenet system, the person, the consciousness, and the terms or the labels, right? Okay, so we see that this I is always there with the experiences of pain and pleasure. This I as the agent is always there. So, and the Buddha very clearly indicated that the ignorance is the root of all the miseries. So this ignorance is what underscores all the metal stains which obscure this brilliant, the purity that exists within us. So now pertaining to this I, pertaining to this, mainly pertaining to this I, that the Buddha taught that if you really want to get rid of the suffering, then what we should be doing is we have to get rid of the ignorance pertaining to the I. Right? So then the Buddha taught what is known as the 4 seals of the Buddha's teaching. So anyone who's following these 4 seals, you call them as the Buddhist tenet holders. Anybody who follows these four seals, all composite things impermanent, all contaminated things of suffering nature, everything is the nature of emptiness, selflessness, transcending sorrows, peace, or the nirvana. Anyone who follows this philosophy is known as the tenet system, the tenet holder of Buddhism, or Buddhist tenet holder. Okay. Then within that, when it's particularly the third one, what is the third one? Third seal? Everything is the nature of emptiness, selflessness. So with this, everything is the nature of selflessness, emptiness. What do you understand by the selflessness or the emptiness? This question. So now to flesh this out, then the 4 schools came into being as to identify what this selflessness is. Then the 4 schools came into being. And as we already recited from this book, the Blaze of the Non-Dual Bodhisattvas, the Buddha Shakyamuni, after achieving Buddhahood, then under the Bodhi tree, and he remained silent, and the Indra and Brahma, the kings of the celestial beings, they descended to make request to the Buddha, please turn the wheel of Dharma. Then the Buddha said, yes, page 6 of the Blaze of the Non-Dual Bodhisattvas. So there the Buddha said, in Tibetan, profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-light and non-composite, such as the nectar-like Dharma I have discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, in silence I will reply into the words. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, the profound, the teaching which the Buddha discovered, what is known as the selflessness or the emptiness, this being very profound, and finding no one, the Buddha said that I prefer to return to the words. Okay, so because that this is so profound, and through insistent request made by the Indra and Brahma, finally the Buddha accepted to teach. So this teaching then turned into what is known as the 3 turnings of the wheel of Dharma. So then, from the 3 turnings of the wheel of Dharma, we come to realize that the target audience, of course, the place, the subject matter, target audience. So these 3 turns of the wheel of Dharma, they differ in terms of the 3 things: the place, then target audience, and the subject matter. Okay, in terms of the target audience or the subject matter, the first turn of the wheel of Dharma, the Buddha taught something very simple, because that the subject matter, the Buddha said, is very profound. The 3rd seal, everything is the nature of emptiness, self, is so profound. So initially the Buddha taught it in a very simple way, which came to be known as the teaching of the 4 Noble Truths. So that came to be known as the first wheel of Dharma, and the target audience, as we come to know, is the Vaibhashika. So there are the 4 schools, in other words, in simple terms, in a simple way, the 4 schools: Vaibhashika, Sautrantrika, Chittamatra, Madhyamik. Okay, 4. Now, the first turning wheel of Dharma, the target audience was Vaibhashika and Sautrantrika. Okay, for them, the Buddha taught a very simple understanding of the selflessness. Done. Okay. Then the second turning wheel of Dharma, then the Buddha taught the very complicated, what the Buddha considered as the profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-lined and non-composite, which is the emptiness of objective existence. So this was what the Buddha taught in the second turn of the wheel of Dharma. So the target audience was the Madhyamikas, the middle way philosophers, the middle way practitioners. Number 2. Then the third turn of the wheel of Dharma, the question came into being. The question was, first turn of the wheel of Dharma, Buddha said that the phenomena exists, the 4 Noble Truths exist truly. Second turn of the wheel of Dharma, Buddha said nothing exists truly. So on the surface, on the face value, these two are contradictory. So how to reconcile this? And Buddha being omniscient one, for sure, it is not coming out of confusion, but what could be the reason for the Buddha to be teaching the two superficially contradictory teachings? Then the third thing, the Buddha then interpreted his own the earlier two teachings. So that interpretation made by the Buddha himself came to be known as the third noble of Dharma. That suits the philosophical temperament of Chittamatra. So from this we come to know that these four schools came into being: Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, Chittamatra, and Madhyamika. Okay. So from this we see that finally the point, the whole purpose for the four different schools to come into being is for the audience, for the sentient beings to understand the third seal so well. Third seal so well. That is the whole purpose. Okay. With this, now the tenor systems go into more detail. So again we have to start from who we are. So we, since time immemorial till today, we have a very strong sense of self-I. This strong sense of I, okay, self-grasping ignorance or self-centered attitude, of course we need to make a distinction between these two things. So no matter what, say for the time being, let's say a very strong sense of I. So this strong sense of I is the one which is responsible for, say, not letting us go beyond, not letting us go beyond samsara, always trapping us in samsara. Strong sense of I. So this strong sense of I, sense means a mental state, a mind. So a mind views the I to be very solid. The mind views the I to be very solid. So this is how we have been leading our life since time immemorial till now. One. So that what comes, what is within us, which views the self to be so solid and so objectively real, so solid, which came from time immemorial till now, that is known as the innate self-grasping. Innate self-grasping. And then you come on this earth, and then some teachers, they add to this, they solidify this further, saying that yes, such a self does exist. Yes, such a self does exist. So till the advent of the Buddha Shakyamuni, this was the common trend among all the teachers till that point, that yes, the self does exist so solidly the way we think it exists, right? So this was never touched, meaning viewing the self to be very solidly, and then questioning this never happened till the advent of Buddha Shakyamuni. Then the Buddha Shakyamuni appeared, and then this was questioned. Viewing the self as so objectively real, viewing the self to be so solid real, that's been questioned. So that came to be known as the third seal, that everything, the self, just as all other things are empty and selfless nature, this I, the person as well, is empty and selfless nature. In other words, everything is empty, is the nature of the emptiness, selflessness. Okay, so the point is that we need to dismantle this sense of the self. Then, now we begin, say all the non-Buddhist Tantra systems, they're all structured on the belief that this self does exist so solidly, so objectively. So this forms the non-Buddhist Tantra systems. This is the whole ground. And then the Buddhist Tantra system came into being with the advent of Buddha Shakyamuni, where the first Vaibhashika. So Vaibhashika, they speak about, let's say, so now the whole purpose of the Tantra system, the study of the Tantra system, teachings of Buddha, is to dismantle this solidification of the self. This whole idea. And all the four Tantra systems that we are studying should be ways and means to help us to desolidify the sense of the self. And now, desolidifying this self, First, we see that the Vaibhashika, in what way the Vaibhashika help us to desolidify the self. To what extent? Then comes the Sautantrika school. So they desolidify they desolidify the self, and then they provide us with more equipments to desolidify this further. And then comes Chittamatra, further desolidify the self. And then we go to the Madhyamika. Within Madhyamika, there are the two, Svatantrika Madhyamika and Prasangika. Okay, so this is how we should be doing. Now let's say Vaibhashika. So say with the definition of Vaibhashika from there. So this part is very important. The definition of Vaibhashika, say with the definition, when we define the various the tenet systems, we should not miss the key points. We should not miss the key points. From the key points, we will get a lot of information about the particular tenet system. Say Vaibhashika, it is, with the other the aspects, the key points are, say, does not accept the self-cognizant mind, does not accept self-cognizant mind, and then accepts externality as truly existent, right? Does not accept self-cognizant mind. So from there, so let's say does not accept self-cognizant mind. So we have to just keep in mind, say when we study this, just try to make a mind very fluid, and make a mind very agile in our thought processes. For example, say self-cognizant mind. Who are the Buddhist schools who accept self-cognizant mind, and who are the Buddhist schools which reject self-cognizant mind? Say, tell me, who are the ones who accept self-cognizant mind? Sautantrika school, Chittamatra, Yogacara, Svatantrika, Madhyamika. Okay, that's very good. So this is how we need to, make our, say, thinking very clear, crystallize, and the articulation coming about. That is so important. So first, when we say that the Vaibhashikas are the ones who do not accept self-cognizant mind, means they are not Chittamatrins, they are not Sautantrikas, they are not Yogacaras, Svatantrika, Madhyamika. Okay, good. Now how many of them are left now? Two. What are they? 2 or 3. Say the Vaibhashika, of course, and then the Sautantrika, Svatantrika, Madhyamika left, and the Prasangika left. Okay. The next is says, and then Vaibhashika accepts the externality or external reality to be existing truly. So accepting the external reality. Accepting the external reality. Who rejects external reality? Chittamatra rejects external reality, and Yogacara, Svatantrika, Madhyamika. So these two are, again we say that the fact that they accept externality means that they are not the Yogacara, they are not the Yogacara, Svatantrika, and Madhyamika. Okay, then they say that they accept the externality to be truly existent. And who rejects true existence? All Madhyamikas reject true existence, right? So, which means it is not Prasangika. So the only choice left is that it has already excluded other traditions, other tenet systems. Now, this is what is meant by the Vaibhashika tenet system. Okay. So from this, we see one thing that is important is that that it accepts externality truly, right? Externality truly. So truly has a connotation of the solidification, right? Truly has a connotation of solidification. Okay, and then the next, say many of the points are indicated. One point which is so important for us that we can learn from Vaibhashika is the two truths. Two truths according to Vaibhashika. This is so important, so important. Okay, in fact, maybe at the end, I like to draw your attention to this area. about how all the 10 systems, how the different, these Buddhist 10 systems, they help us to get to the Prasangika's understanding of emptiness. Okay, so for that matter, the two truths, first, the two truths in general meaning, two truths according to Vaibhashika, same, irrespective of what Buddhist systems, two truths, generally speaking. Keep in mind that two truths is not something only the Buddhist accepts. It is what even the non-Buddhist traditions also accept, two truths. Likewise, even the modern philosophers, they also talk about two truths. May not necessarily explicitly talk about it. In fact, I remember reading, what is that? There's one very famous Western philosopher. I read his book, Inquiry. Anyone who has any idea? Okay, I forgot the name. It doesn't matter. So I read this book. In fact, this book was given to me by a very prominent philosopher, Western philosopher in England, in Cambridge. Somehow I was very lucky. That I was always going on a bus from my college to my school. So on the bus there was always one lady there, but after about a month, that lady started to talk to me and said, "Are you Geshe Dorje Tamdil?" I was so fascinated. How come that she's so precise? I said, "Yes." For the last 1 month, no one was talking to each other. That day, 20, she was so precise. "Are you Geshe Dorje Tamdil?" I said, "Yes." I was so fascinated. And then she was being so kind and but very friendly. Then she introduced herself, and she said that my husband wants to invite you for a tea. I was so, who's your husband? Then she said that he's a philosopher. And then finally, the date was fixed. I was there, and then the husband was an extraordinary person. Amazingly, kind, highly learned, and he wrote so many books. And then I was also curious. I was in my early 30s, also curious to learn about Western philosophy. And then he was so kind. He told me that he also compiled something of Buddhist philosophy for the Oxford University. And he wanted me to go through this and see if there's any feedback. Then, of course, I accepted that, and then I asked him questions, not really questions, more like, say, inquiry about what books in Western philosophy would be good for me to read to begin with, and so forth. So he suggested this book. Now I forgot the name. The book is The Inquiry. The title is The Inquiry in something. And then I said, "Where can I get this?" So he gave me the contacts. And finally he thought that, okay, he may not get it, right? So he said, "Okay, never mind, I'll give you my copy." Then he gave me his own copy. And then I asked him, "Where can I go for more sources?" Then he gave me a link. There's an encyclopedia on the Western philosophy. Then he said that, but if you are part of the Cambridge University, then you can get it. You can, make use of this through Cambridge University. And because I was a part of the Cambridge University, so I was entitled to use the Cambridge University Library. And then what happened was that then he showed me the encyclopedia, the hard copies. They were, I think, about 20-something volumes. Then I went there and I read the chief editor is his name. I was so fascinated. He was the chief editor of this big the encyclopedia on the Western philosophy. So the point that I'm saying is that, so this book which he gave me, I read it and I was so amazed to see that there the concept of the two truths was explained, not really as the two truths, but it's taking us to that direction, towards that direction. And so from my point of view, very close to, say, the Madhyamika's understanding of emptiness and dependent origination, with emphasis on dependent origination. This is what I sense. I was so amazed. So what I'm saying is that this should be the openness is required. So with this, the point is two truths is not something which only the Buddhists talk about. Keep this in mind. Two truths is what most of the philosophical traditions they talk about, including science. And particularly nowadays, quantum physics, relativity theory. So these two things, very close to what we talk about the two truths, very close. Quantum physics, more on the micro level, and the relativity theory, more on the macro level. So what in the Buddhist parlance, what I speak about the existence by, say, the unanalyzed mind, that is the macro world, and the analyzed version is the micro world, the micro reality, subtle reality. So that way we see that what you find in physics, quantum theory, which relates more with the ultimate truth, closer towards ultimate truth of Buddhism, and the relativity theory, which relates more to the conventional truth in Buddhism. Okay, so the point is the two truths. So now two truths in general we have to understand it. Once you understand this, then you go into the specific, the expositions of the two truths by the various systems. Two truths in general, say conventional truth and ultimate truth in general. And this you should be able to apply to all the traditions, right? Generally speaking, say the conventional truth versus ultimate truth. Ultimate, conventional. Ultimate has a connotation which is final. Ultimate has a connotation which is final. Final means which is very reliable, final, and very stable, right? What she says is the ultimate. Say, some people say that this is not, this is yes, this is no, this is half like this, and then there's one person finally comes and says that this is it. Then you say, okay, with all these things, what she says, whatever she says, that is the final. Whatever he says, this is a final, right? Which means that what that person said is very reliable, is final, is the ultimate. So the ultimate reality has a connotation, a reality or a phenomenon which is final in nature, which is very stable, which is very reliable. This is connotation. Now, as opposed to final, towards the other side, more like provisional, more like not stable, is immune to, is prone to change. You're getting it? Say, final versus the non-final, right? Non-final. And the stable versus non-stable, unstable, right? Okay. And then likewise say the word reliable versus unreliable. You're getting it? So the final, ultimate truth has that connotation. Ultimate truth has a connotation which is ultimate, which is reliable, which is stable, as opposed to the conventional truth which is not reliable, which is not stable, which is not final. Okay, this is how we should understand this. If you understand this, if you understand the two truths in this sense, this is a very general presentation. This is not the definition. This is not a definition. This is how we need to understand. Okay, ultimate truth is something very, say, this is the something which is reliable, and the conventional truth is not as reliable. Ultimate truth is the final, and the conventional truth is not final. And the ultimate truth is very stable, and conventional truth is not stable. Okay, this is how we need to understand. Once you understand this, now you apply this to the definitions employed by each of the tenet systems. You getting it? Okay, now we go to Vaibhashika. Okay, so Vaibhashika, so what's the definition given there?
28.
page 28. Okay. In Tibetan, it is Kangla Chumna Lo Yishen Selna Telo Mejuba Pumjushin Kunzu to Yode to Mission. This is the Tibetan version of the definition set in Abhidhamma Kosh. Kangla Chumna Lo Yishen Selna Telo Mejuba. So this is exactly what we can see here. Say the definition of conventional truth. An object which is apprehended as a phenomenon whose apprehending mind ceases either when the object is dismantled or when the object is segregated into individual parts. So this is so important, right? For example, let's say the flower. Flower, is it a truth? Is it existent? I says yes. Okay, now let's say according to what we understood, the two truths in a general sense. In a general sense, let's say whether the flower is the stable or the unstable one, reliable or the non-reliable one, right? Let's say this. So this flower, how do you know that there's a flower there? My eye consciousness can see that, right? So you see that, oh, this flower is there. So you try to you see the flower as there, and it's so valid, it's so true. How do you know that it's true, it's so valid? Because my eye consciousness can see that. So you try to validate the existence of the flower by relying on a valid mind, reliable valid mind. What is that? Eye consciousness. So now look, moment this flower is broken into pieces, your eye consciousness automatically, even though you want to retain this eye consciousness seeing the flower, but eye consciousness automatically ceases. So therefore the eye consciousness seeing the flower earlier is not stable, it's not reliable. It's not reliable. The moment the object ceases because of dismantling the object, the eye consciousness, the consciousness which sees the object also gets dismantled. Right? So therefore, that object, because of dismantling the object, the consciousness perceiving the object or validating the object, that consciousness also dismantles, which means that that is not stable and reliable. So what is unreliable is what? Conventional truth. You're getting it? Okay. So now on the contrary, let's say the physical form, say the same object, the flower, we look at it not as a flower, we look at it as a physical form. So you break it into, say, how do you know that there's a physical form in my hand? My eye consciousness can see that, right? Now what are we checking? Are we checking the physical form to be ultimate truth or conventional truth, or your eye consciousness seeing the physical form to be the ultimate truth or conventional truth? Object, right? The object, not the subject. To see whether the object is the ultimate or the conventional truth, then you try to employ the subject. Okay, so this is the physical form. You dismantle this physical form. How do you dismantle this? You break into 2, you break into 10,000. So we break into 10, then what happens? Physical form is left or physical form disappears? It breaks into 2 parts. The first part is physical form. First part, is it physical form or in? Still is physical form. You break it into 1,000, still it remains a physical form. So the consciousness seeing that as a physical form never gets dismantled, right? Never disappears. It never ceases. It continues to remain as it is. No matter how much you dismantle the object, the consciousness perceiving a physical form, it remains as it is. It never ceases, right? So, which means the physical form is ultimately reliable or not reliable? It's very reliable. It's very stable. No matter how much you break this into pieces, but it retains it as a physical form. The consciousness seeing the physical form, it retains its identity as a consciousness seeing the physical form, perceiving the physical form. So the physical form is ultimate truth. Okay. So now, how we understood the two truths in general. Is it applicable to the Vaibhashika's understanding of the two truths? Is it applicable, not applicable? Yes, it is applicable. You're getting it? Okay. So from there you come to sense that amongst the phenomena that exist in this universe, we always look for what? We always say when we go to buy shoes, the shoes will last us for 10 years or 100 years. Oh, this is a very fragile shoe, you know, we look for something which can last us for, say, 200 years. Although we don't know how long we will live, but and the house we build, the cars we buy, and whatever. So the good thing is the mobiles. This is so good. The mobiles are so unreliable. However expensive you may buy it, within 1 year, 2 years, again a new model comes and you see this very horrible mobile. Right? So this is amazing thing. Otherwise, generally speaking, we have this attitude. We have the attitude. If you go to buy something, that it should last long. Right? So we always look for something very tangible, solid, reliable, steadfast, you know, like this. So this is the clear indication of our adherence to objective existence. So now the Vaibhashika's true truths, concept of true truths, helps us to first dismantle this, you know, strong adherence that things are not always as reliable. The conventional truths, they're not as reliable. You know, we see them in one way, but you dismantle them and they disappear. And your consciousness seeing that object automatically ceases. So therefore, it gives us a sense of the impermanence. It gives us a sense of unreliability, right? So this is very helpful for us to understand the Vaibhashika's understand of the true truths. One. Then the next point that I like to also share from Vaibhashika's, of course, this is the contaminated versus the uncontaminated phenomena. So these two, the classification of phenomena into two. So this is not only done by Vaibhashika, but in the 10th system presented by the Venerable Kuncho Jigme Wangpo. So it is put in this category, in the Vaibhashika section. So I like to also share this. This is very important. So within the phenomena, we see that there are two divisions. One, say, just your consciousness. Your consciousness meets with the object, say the anger, agitation, and the suffocation, and say attachment, greed, and these things arise. Right? And another object, you meet with the object, and these negative emotions subside. It's amazing. It's amazing, right? This concept is amazing. Okay, so from this we see that the phenomena which arouse the negative emotions, just meet with the object and your negative emotions arises. Another, you meet with the object, your negative emotions subside. Right? For example, say, I don't know, maybe some of you might have such experiences. Say, somebody, so let's say we may be so keen on, say, for the precision of everything. It must be so precise, like this, because this is done by the people who are more educated, people who are more affluent. They do it. This is how we should be doing it. We just mimic. Right? And then one day you meet someone, say in terms of education, very educated, in terms of the material wealth, very wealthy, but how the person does is just more casual, take it easy, and you are so fascinated. And then you see it shakes your belief system. It shakes your belief system, right? Just meeting with a person, and there you see that the belief system that you earlier had is more rigid, right? It's more rigid, unnecessarily imprisons us, and you feel that you are being relaxed seeing this. And some people who don't have any sort of attachment to material possessions, just can, really from deep inside, you meet with this person, then say we can see very clearly that our obsession to the material possessions, like a mirror. And somebody who is into, say the practice of the renunciation, and then again you see that person serves like a mirror for us. And somebody practicing bodhicitta, you see that I'm lacking that part, is like a mirror. So the point is that some objects, they help us to reduce our negative emotions. Some just with the mere meeting, mere encounter, you don't have to analyze. Just meet with the object and your, say, negative emotions arise. In some cases, negative emotions subside, right? Okay, so from that point of view, what subsides the negative emotions, contaminations, they are known as uncontaminated objects. For example, like emptiness. You just you encounter with the emptiness, automatically your negative emotions subside, right? And then see things as objectively real, the contaminations arise. Okay, this is so important. This is so important. On this basis, contaminated and uncontaminated. So therefore, it is very important for us to see, say, even on the conventional sense, say, meeting with some people, your virtues keep growing. Meeting with other people, your virtues automatically decline. And with some objects or some pictures, whatever, your negative emotions arise. Say anger. For example, keeping the, say watching the National Geographic, and one animal eating another, animal like this. First sight, you make a little, say, you don't want to watch it, and you just keep watching it, then your mind will become immune to that, right? Immune to that, and then it kills your seed of compassion, right? So when the seed of compassion degenerates, this is the most scary part. This is the greatest loss for us. So therefore, in such situation, we should be very careful. We should be very careful. Say, deliberately, we are trying to cultivate compassion. We try to practice bodhicitta to cultivate compassion. On the other hand, it so easily destroys our compassion. Just seeing, okay, initially, we do not even look at it. And then second time is easier, third time is easier, fourth time is fine, it's just normal. Then the seed of compassion really is being destroyed, or it declines. So therefore, it is very important to look for the objects which are contaminated, which are uncontaminated, right? This is a very important thing. Okay. Then the next one is the positive phenomena and negative phenomena. Positive phenomena, negative phenomena. Okay, this is pretty now. So we've been doing this pretty often, but of course that is so important. Positive phenomena, negative phenomena. Say the positive phenomena. Say the phenomena. Okay, let's first do negative phenomena, which your mind knows through explicitly negating the object of negation, right? Through explicitly negating the object of negation, so that becomes a negative phenomena. Whereas, say an object, a mind knows without having to explicitly negate object of negation, that is a positive phenomena, right? Okay. And within the negative phenomena, there are two: affirming, non-affirming, negative. So where after explicit negation, another positive phenomenon is affirmed, not affirmed. This concept is so important for the reason that the emptiness, eventually which we should be meditating. The study of the 10 systems, then later on the study of the Madhyamaka Avatar, and we have to design our practice finally to to dissolve the sense of the solidification of the self, solidification of the other things, and on that basis, generate a feeling of fearlessness. Fearlessness, for that matter, the wisdom of emptiness is so important. And the wisdom of emptiness, to acquire this, the precision of the object is so important. Precision. What exactly is the emptiness? That should come to a mind when you meditate on emptiness. So that object, as the emptiness, should be a non-affirming negative. Non-affirming negative. Oftentimes, Why this is so important is that if non-affirming negative, say our mind is so addicted to seeing the positive phenomena. So even if I say, what is in my hand? Nothing is there. But nothing is there means you are seeing the absence. You are seeing the absence of the flower. You are seeing the absence of the car and this is on my hand. At the same time, you are seeing my hand. Right? So our mind is so addicted to seeing the positive phenomena. You will see my hand. Although you say that, what is in my hand? You say nothing, but you continue to see the hand. If this is what is bound to happen when we meditate on emptiness. Emptiness of self, then aggregates they come to your mind. And emptiness of self, then the 6 elements come to your mind. Emptiness of flower, the atoms may come to your mind. Should these things happen, then you are not meditating on a non-affirming negative, you are meditating on a positive phenomena. And a positive phenomena is never emptiness. So therefore, many people who are so ardent practitioners, because of their failure to distinguish, because of the failure to distinguish positive, negative, affirming, non-affirming negative, and they are exposed to the teaching on emptiness, and then following all the reasons employed by Nagarjuna. If the person is not the earth, not the water, yes, earth, water, air, space, consciousness, fire, and none of this is self. So just the 6 elements is there. The self is not there. 6 elements is there. Then you just keep observing the 6 elements. 6 elements automatically they appear to us. The moment they appear to us, then you stay there. You think that you meditate emptiness. You are not meditating emptiness, right? So for however many years you may meditate on this, you are not meditating emptiness. And you think that you meditate emptiness, but you are not. Okay. So the point is that affirming, non-affirming, positive, negative, within negative, positive, negative. No. Within negative, affirming, non-affirming, negative. This, say the classification, understanding, then you come to realize that once you are exposed to this concept, affirming, non-affirming, then when you're actually meditating, you have to just keep an eye whether the object that is in your mind is affirming negative or non-affirming negative. Right? And if you sense it's the affirming negative, then you are not meditating on emptiness. And then how can I get this non-affirming negative? Right? Then every time you try to meditate emptiness, something is coming, which means that our mind is so addicted to positive phenomena and non-affirming, the affirming negative. It is for this reason that only if we are exposed to this knowledge, the negative, positive, within negative, affirming, non-affirming, negative, only then we will discover, realize how difficult it is to retain the experience of the non-affirming negative, let alone emptiness, right? Even just ordinary non-affirming negative, to retain this experience is very difficult. Let's say the absence of flower in my hand, which is non-affirming, there's non-affirming negative. And then when you think of this, automatically my palm comes to your mind, which is a positive phenomena, right? So now, can we really have the mind meditating on the non-affirming negative of the absence of the flower in my hand? Is it possible, right? Then the question arises. Unless you're exposed to this question will never arise. So therefore, this is so important to know this concept, the positive, negative, affirming, non-affirming, negative. Okay. And the next one, which is the subject. With the subject, we talk about the person, consciousness, and the terms, right? Okay, 3. So the consciousness, the person, I like to share a little bit on this part. The person, how do we identify the person? So what we said is that the Buddha indicated that viewing the self, the mind viewing the self is demonic. The mind viewing the self is demonic. What the Buddha is indicating is not saying that if you view the self, it is demonic. This is not the connotation. The connotation, viewing the self to be solidified and objectively existent, that is demonic. Why demonic? The demon's job is to destroy us. Likewise, seeing the self to be objective real is the one which destroys us and drowns us into samsara all the time. So that is demonic in that sense. So the solidification of the self, that's the problem. Now to dissolidify this self, or to see the emptiness of objective existence of this self, we need to work on how the different schools, they see the self. Say the Vaibhashika, when you ask what the self is, of course there are various versions within the Vaibhashikas. Some say that all the five aggregates are the self, all the five aggregates. By the way, what are the five aggregates? Aggregator form, feeling, discrimination, composite factors, and consciousness. Okay, so the five aggregates that we have, they are all the examples or the illustrations of the self, according to some Vaibhashikas. And some say no, it's just the consciousness, mental consciousness is a self. Let's say mental consciousness is a self. The moment we say that the mental consciousness is a self, already we are believing the self to be objectively real, right? Okay, I'm not going to explain how. At this moment, I'm not going to explain how. From what we've learned of the Prasanga's version of the self, Prasanga's version of the self, what's the Prasanga's version of the self? What's the self according to Prasanga?
Mere I.
The mere I. The mere I. So, mere I versus the mental consciousness as the self. Mere I as opposed to believing in the mental consciousness to be the self. So, when you see these two views, then we see that mere I, why this word mere is added? To reject objectivity, of this self. Then the others, they don't say the mere I, they say they point to the consciousness, mental consciousness to be the self. So there, they say invariably, they're including the objectivity of the self. Right? So the point is that how the lower schools they present this from there, you'll come to know the nuances of the acceptance or nuances of the rejection of the objectivity of the self done by the Prasangikas. Okay, so this is very important, how the self is posited. Okay, now one thing which is so unique. Okay, we need to see to the timing. Okay, so because the Vaibhashika's version may not come so often, I like to do it here also. Say in terms of how we began this session, we are talking about the Buddha nature with the nas, which is not visible at the moment because they are being obscured by the mental defilements. So what are the mental defilements? According to the higher Buddhist schools, we talk about the afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations, whereas the terminology is very different for the Vaibhashikas. Vaibhashikas, they don't speak about the afflictive obscurations, the cognitive obscurations. They only talk about the afflictive ignorance and the non-afflictive ignorance, right? So afflictive ignorance stops us from achieving freedom from samsara or nirvana, and the non-afflictive ignorance stops us from achieving total Buddhahood. So the terminology differs. And what constitutes the non-afflictive ignorance? So they are very precise. They may not necessarily define. They will say that there are four non-afflictive ignorances. What are they? The ignorance due to the distance, ignorance due to
distance and space and time.
Okay, distance and space, ignorance due to distance and time, ignorance due to the subtlety of the karmas, ignorance due to the numerosity of the diversity of the phenomena, right? Say ignorance due, and I'm not going to share the stories once more, right? Okay, so they narrate these things all with the very precise examples. They go into the specific illustrations rather than defining. Okay, the four kinds of I don't think they are not given there. So ignorance due to the distance in time, because the event happened very long time remote in time, because of which you cannot, even the arhats cannot see the event that happened in the past. So that is the arhats, they have eliminated the afflictive ignorance, but they still have this ignorance pertaining to the distance in time and distance in space. Because one event happened, say like very far away place, so remote in space, and then the arhats, they cannot see that. For example, what happened to Mughaliana. Okay, then the ignorance because of the subtlety of the law of karma. The nuances and the subtleties of the law of karma is something the arhats cannot really fathom. And then the ignorance pertaining to the diversity, the multitudes of the realities that exist in this world. There's something so multiple that the arhats cannot possibly see everything. So these are the 4 kinds of the ignorance which they classify as non-afflictive ignorance. Okay, this is very important. And then, okay, these things may not come so often. I like to make it very clear here. Whereas the presentations from the point of view the high schools will come very often. Say the Buddha's body, when you become enlightened, when you become Buddha, right? You, whether girl or boy, say when you become Buddha, then the question arises: what do you have? You have the body and you have the mind. So what about your body? Is this Buddha? What about your mind? Is this a Buddha? This is a question, right? Okay. So with the body, they say that the body is Buddha, but it's not the jewel of the Buddha. The body is not the jewel of the Buddha. It has contamination, right? It's contamination. It is contaminated. How do Vaibhashikas understand? This is the contaminated, because this is the body which you carried from before you achieved enlightenment, right? The same body which you inherit from your parents, contamination. So that is what you continue to take with you, and even after enlightenment, you still have the same body that is contaminated. So there is Buddha, but not a Buddha's body, the jewel of the Buddha. Then with the mind, they say that the omniscient mind, they don't talk about the omniscient mind. They say that Buddha's mind can know all phenomena. Buddha's mind, when you become enlightened, your mind knows all phenomena, but the same mind, when the same mind knows this flower, you don't know what is happening in the India Gate, right? So, if your mind directs to any object, you will know this. You will know the object, however subtle the object is, you will know this. But your mind should be directed towards that. So, you will know one object at a time. So, it is not omniscient in the form that you know all phenomena simultaneously, right? So, this is something unique of the Vaibhashika's presentation. And say, if you read the biography of the Buddha, the historical biography of the Buddha, I did mention this in the class once, that the Ananda, when the Buddha, it was going to, the whole city was going through, city or town was suffering from famine, going through famine, and the Ananda did not have anything to offer to the Buddha. And then the Ananda went in search of food. Then the Vimalakirti came, and Vimalakirti shouted at Ananda, "Hey Venerable Ananda, what are you doing?" This is his time. On the one hand, he is being respectful, Venerable Ananda. Right? Hey Venerable Ananda, what are you doing here? Then Venerable Ananda, knowing that he is exceptionally bright, the Bodhisattva Vimalakirti, exceptionally bright, and little, eccentric, whatever. So then Ananda shared the reality meaning that, okay, the fully awakened one, I have nothing to offer to the fully awakened one, and fully awakened one had some problem here and there, so I came here to look for something to offer to get from the householders here. Then the Bodhisattva Vimalakirti scolded Ananda, saying that the fully awakened one does not have any problem from any external factors. It is your So the limited thinking that makes you think that the enlightened one needs this. You're bringing embarrassment to the enlightened one, right? By the very definition, this is not true. So therefore, I'm saying what the Bodhisattva Vimalakirti was sharing about the Buddha's qualities is from the point of view of the unique biography of the Buddha Shakyamuni, from the point of view of the Mahayana Sutra. Whereas how the Venerable Ananda was treated in Buddha Shakyamuni was according to the biography of the historical account. Okay, so from that point of view, the Buddha's mind, Vaibhashikas, how the Vaibhashikas present the Buddha's mind is that Buddha's mind knows everything, but knows one thing at a time, not everything at one time, right? If the Buddha's mind is directed towards any object, we'll instantly know that, but it needs to be directed. If not directed, it does not know all things simultaneously. This is one position. Okay, so next comes, now the next comes Sautantrika school. Okay, Sautantrika school, that is important. Sautantrika school, let's turn to page 38. Page 38, Sautantrika school. Okay, the Sautantrika school, it says that this is a school which accepts self-cognizant mind and then externality as truly existent, right? So truly existence has a connotation of solidification, don't forget it, right? So it accepts the self-cognizant mind, and it accepts, because it accepts self-cognizant mind, it is not Vaibhashika, and it is not Prasangika, and it is not Sautantrika, Svatantrika, Madhyamika, right? And then it accepts externality. So therefore it is not Chittamatra, Yogacara, Svatantrika, Madhyamika, and that it accepts these things as truly existent, which means it is not the Madhyamik at all in the first place, Madhyamik. Okay, so let's turn to, that is very important, page 38, reference number 34. Object is classified into these 6 points. Let us quickly go through these 6 points as a revision. 1 to 2 truths. Okay, what we learn 2 truths in what? In what? In a general sense. Let us see whether that is applicable. How we understand the 2 truths in general sense is applicable to 2 truths according to Sautantrika Madhyamik. No, sorry, Sautantrika school, right? Okay, Sautantrika school, they say, okay, let's say, is there anyone who can tell me, say, in essence, may not necessarily be very precise definition, but in essence, as to what is the ultimate truth and what is conventional truth according to Sautantrika school? Anyone? Okay, let's say, okay, so the definition, I would ask you to go through them yourself, right? So what I would tell you is that, let's say that, okay, what is my right hand? A flower, red flower. And what is my left hand? Nothing there. Just imagine an imaginary blue flower. Okay, imaginary blue flower exists or not exists?
Yes.
It exists. And this flower exists, the red flower exists or not?
Yes.
Okay, now tell me that which of the two has a substance? The red flower or the imaginary blue flower? Which of the two, while both are equally existent, right? Okay, red flower versus the blue flower in my left hand. Which exists, which does not exist?
Red flower exists.
Red flower exists and the blue flower does not exist. Don't forget it. The next, red flower versus the imaginary blue flower. Which exists? Both exist. Blue flower does not exist, but the imaginary blue flower exists. You getting it? Okay. Now, while the 2 things, the red flower in my right hand and the imaginary blue flower in my left hand, while both exist, which of the 2 is more reliable? Red flower or the imaginary blue flower?
Red flower.
Red flower is more reliable. How it is more reliable? Because it has a substance there. It is a substance there, right? It is a substance there. Very good. So therefore, say, what is a substance? It is more reliable, it's more steady, right? As long as I keep this flower here, you can continue to enjoy this. You can continue to just look at it, no matter what loud music is being played, still you can continue to enjoy this. You just keep looking at it. Whereas imagine blue flower, the moment somebody says that, hey, what are you doing? What a stupid thing that you look at the imagine blue flower, right? And you become very angry. The moment you become angry, your mind turns towards the other person. Imagine blue flower disappears, right? So that is less stable. It is less reliable. So therefore, why it is less reliable? Why it? I did not release it. I did not release it, but it disappears instantly. Why? Because it does not have a substance there. Because it does not have a substance, it is not reliable, it is not stable, it is not final. Right? So anything which is a substance, according to Southampton School, anything which is a substance is ultimate truth, and what does not have a substance is conventional truth. You're getting it? Okay. So with this, what are those things which have substance? Impermanent phenomena. What are those things which do not have the substance? Permanent phenomena. In simple terms, impermanent phenomena is synonymous with ultimate truth, and the permanent phenomena is synonymous with conventional truth. This is according to Southampton School. Okay. The next, the specifically characterized and generally characterized the phenomena. Okay, this is again very important. Specifically characterized and generally characterized phenomena. Okay. Let's say that, specifically characterized. So from this, finally we will go to the Prasangika. So Prasangika rejects specifically characterized, right? Self-characteristics. Okay, associated with that is the specifically characterized. That will come later. Okay, for the time, let's say what Prasangika rejects is self-characteristics. You're getting it? Okay. So when you speak about this specifically characterized, for example, this flower, it is specifically characterized. Okay. If you go to the world, in the universe, to look for this flower, oh yeah, this flower is there. But if you seriously think, this flower is never what is there. Although color-wise they're similar, shape-wise they're similar. Say this flower, shape-wise similar, color-wise similar, but these two are very contradictory flowers. These two are not same. Atoms which constitute this flower is never here. Atoms that constitute here. So what is here is specifically, very specific, specifically characterized, meaning that there's a substance there which is so unique. There's a substance there which is so uniquely there, which is absent anywhere else. So therefore, all impermanent phenomena which are made of substance so uniquely, they are known as specifically there, made of the specific substance. These are known as the specifically characterized. Which are not made of substance, they are known as generally characterized. Okay. Then the next, negative and positive phenomena done. Manifest and hidden phenomena, that is fine. We just recently did that. And of course the variation is there, slight variation, how the negative, the manifest and hidden phenomena explained in Sautrantika and explained in the Madhyamikas. These two differ, but it's matter. Okay. So the three times. Okay, one thing that we need to know here, the three times is, say, the past, present, and the future. The three times. Of the three times, what is so unique of the Prasangika is that the Prasangika and Vaibhashika, these two agree as to how we classify the time into permanent and impermanent. In other words, say the past and past, all three times. Past, so present, and then the past and the future on the other hand, and the present. All three, according to Vaibhashika and Prasangika, are impermanent in nature, not only present. Whereas the other schools, except for Vaibhashika and Prasangika, then only the present is impermanent, and the past and the future, they are permanent. Okay, this is the difference, right? And if you ask the Vaibhashikas how you defend that the past and the future, these two are impermanent, then they may cite the sutras. They may cite the sutras, right? But the reason wise, they may not necessarily logically be able to present as to how these two are impermanent. Whereas Prasangika, they give the reason very clearly, saying that the past in the form of the disintegratedness, this is impermanent because this should be understood in the form of the disintegratedness, which is in the form of affirming negative, right? Affirming negative. Say with the disintegration, something else is affirmed. Something else is affirmed, and what is affirmed? That is the thing. That is the thing associated with the disintegration. Disintegration means impermanent, right? Okay. Then finally, oneness and differentness. This is so important concept. This is so important. So in fact, this the classification, the oneness, differentness, on the object wise, on the subject wise, in the technical terms, the entity wise, isolated wise, right? So that concept is so important. In fact, say, if one does not really have a clear picture of this concept, oneness, differentness, on the level, the entity wise, isolated wise, if you do not have this concept, then to see emptiness according to Prasangika in the crystal clear, the concept of emptiness will never come to our mind. It will become very vague. It will become very vague, right? So therefore this concept is so important. And on top of that, so this concept will help us clarify so many other points, not only the emptiness concept, but it will help us clarify so many other concepts, not necessarily Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist psychology, even the non-Buddhist psychology philosophy, many of the concepts. If you know this, you can easily untangle yourself from contradictions, unnecessary contradictions. We can easily be freed from these contradictions if we have a very clear picture of this concept, oneness and differentness, entity-wise and isolated-wise. Okay. Then the next one, which is so important, is about the aspects, how the mind perceives the objects, right? Say except for Vaibhashika, all other Buddhist schools, they talk about perceiving the object or apprehending the object via the aspects, whereas it is only Vaibhashika who say that it is not necessary to go through the aspects. Say particularly the direct perceptions, they have direct access to the objects without having this aspect. So what is this aspect? So this is in the form of the image, and then because that we use this word, the aspect, technically, and to make it easy, I'm saying image. Don't mix this image with the generic image, don't mix this image with the mental image, right? So all the various kinds of images should be understood in their own respective contexts, right? Okay, so in simple terms, this would be really helpful for us. Let's say that if I put on the glasses, say those of us who are using the glasses, right? So why do we use the glasses? Why do we use glasses?
For clarity.
To magnify, to bring the clarity. So in what way it helps us so magnification, then it's easy. How does it give us the clarity? Either saying, okay, so let's say Okay, say without the glasses, you see the object. Put on the glasses, you see the object slightly differently, slightly in a different way, which means that it's a very clear indication that the pair of glasses helps us to create an image, right? Image, and through this image we say that okay, I'm seeing the flower. Okay, so I'm putting the glasses. Through this I'm seeing the mug. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing directly. I would say yes, I'm seeing directly, but in actuality it's not direct. It's through the image. If this is what is happening, then say even without the glasses on, I have to use my eye lens. My two eye lenses are used. Likewise, we don't say ear lens, but we use the sense power, ear sense power. So we use all these sense powers. Of course, keep in mind that this eye lens is not the sense power. It's still the sense organ, not the sense power. So what I'm saying is that we use the eye lens. Even scientifically speaking, we use the eye lens. Eye lens serves like the lens, external lens, which means that the job of the lens is to create an image. So invariably we're using the image when we use the eye consciousness, right? Whereas, so from this, all the other schools except for Vaibhashikas, all our minds use this aspect to get to the object. Now the Vaibhashikas, they say that it is not necessary. It is not necessary. If you always have to use this image, right, then this contradicts with the reality. This contradicts with the reality. Right? Okay. So once it was in the palace of His Holiness's residence, there was an interview happening, and then I was also there. Not really interview, more like a book, reviewing a book of His Holiness. And then this discussion came up about the aspect. Then I just casually informed this, that His Holiness, of course, all the other schools, they accept the aspect. Then I just casually mentioned that, but the Vaibhashikas, they have a very strong debate against the use of the aspect. And he says, what is that debate? Then I said, I quoted, not really Vaibhashika, but from the point of view of the Vaibhashikas said in a commentary on Abhidhamma-kosh, that if you always use the image, we never see the reality. So how can we prove that reality exists? So this is the debate, it's a very strong debate. I said, do you think it's really the debate coming from Vaibhashika, or as a commentator say, I did this debate? Okay, so the point is that this is the debate, not necessarily by the Vaibhashikas themselves, but it's a very strong debate. This anybody can bring forth on behalf of the Vaibhashikas. The thing is that what is being said is that if what you always see is just the image, right? And how can you prove that reality beyond this image actually exists? Because we never get access to that reality. So this is a very strong debate. Okay. The next is Chittamatra. Okay, Chittamatra. Okay, very quick. Chittamatra. Chittamatra part, the three natures. The three natures, the most important part is the three natures. Okay, let's say Chittamatra, what they say is that while external reality does not exist, but other power of nature, which is impermanent phenomena, exists truly. So they actually refer to, when they say other power of nature, right? Technically it means the impermanent phenomena, but in actuality they are referring to the mind, because all other things, they are like the extension of one's own mind, like a dream, right? The dream, all the objects that you use in the dream, all the objects that you encounter with the dream, when you wake up, you see that they're all dissolved into the dreaming mind. So likewise, when they speak about the other powered nature, they're actually referring to the mind. But when we study the Tantra system, when we actually talk about the Chittamatra philosophy very professionally, we have to of course say that we have to of course be very precise in equating the other powered nature with impermanent phenomena, right? We are not to compromise that. Okay, so now there's the mind. What we see as external, they are all just illusion. They are not true. What actually exists is the mind. The mind. Now, in this connection, then we speak about, and then we should be able to posit the flower exists or not. Yes, the flower exists. The flower is the mind or not. The flower is not mind. All these philosophical positions you must be able to retain. You must be able to defend all these positions. Flower is not mind. Never say that the flower is mind. Right? Never say the flower is mind. Flower is the nature of the mind. It's not the mind. Reflection in the mirror. Reflection of the tree in the mirror is not the mirror. It's a reflection. But it's the nature of the mirror. You cannot separate the reflection and the mirror. Likewise, the flower is not the mind. Flower is the nature of the mind. Flower does not exist externally. Right? So, the point is that, so this mind, which assumes the aspect of, which assumes all other things to be its nature. So this mind is the one which truly exists. Okay, so now we see that it is a shift happening in terms of the true existence. So how the Vaibhashikas, they present almost all phenomena to be truly existent. Then this I'll make a little more detail in the end. Okay, so the Chittamatras, they focus on finding the mind, right? Final representative of the other powered nature. Okay. Now I may quickly go through this one. Then from the Chittamatra point of view, the Chittamatra and beyond, when we speak about the selflessness. Then the selflessness, they bring the additional facet to this, which is the selflessness of phenomena. Not only selflessness of person, but the selflessness of phenomena, right? Okay. And then the other things, like what is the gross selflessness of person, what is the selfless person, what is the gross one, what is the subtle one, all these things we have to study more and more often, more and more in the other texts also, Madhyamaka Avatar, and also in the Abhisamanakara. We have to study all these things. Okay, now distinguishing the Savatandra Madhyamika and the Prasangika. Okay, this distinction. And the final distinction, finally, we should be able to make through the study of Madhyamika Avatar, right? So that finally we have to do through your own analysis, through your studies, reflection, and the group discussion, and so forth, right? And the meditation, all these things will help us to make a final, the distinction between the two systems, Svatandra Madhyamika and Prasangika. But what is the obvious distinction that we need to know, which will come so often in the very standard treatises, and particularly in the context of the teachings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So this distinction is often being made by His Holiness, and also you find in the text also. So that is something which we have to have. So that is between the two things. The self-characteristics. Self-characteristic on the conventional level and the ultimate level. Right? On the ultimate domain and the conventional domain. So these are two references. So what do we bring to see whether it fits there, fits in which of the two? Say the self-characteristic. So Prasangika rejects self-characteristic on both levels. Not only ultimately, it also rejects self-characteristics to be existing on the conventional level. Whereas Svatandra Madhyamika, while it rejects self-characteristics to be existing on the ultimate domain or ultimate level, but it does accept that self-characteristics exist on the conventional domain. So this distinction, this is so important. You getting it? Let me say this again. Say in the ultimate domain and the conventional domain. Don't mix the two things. Ultimate domain and the ultimate truth. Conventional domain and conventional truth. Don't mix the two things. So say nothing exists ultimately, right? But the ultimate exists, right? Ultimate exists. Ultimate does not exist ultimately. This distinction we have to make. We have to make, and later on, don't worry. Oh, how is that? So when you say, when you study some of the people, this is the problem. In fact, I also had the same problem when I was first studying the collected topics in the IBD. When I first studied this, how is that the definition is permanent? Definition is permanent, yes. Definition is permanent. One is permanent. How is it permanent? I'm so bothered by this, right? So actually this we can understand only after 10th year. But during the initial classes, just we follow, what is a standard answer, you just follow with this. And then you actually understand it when you reach the 10th class, the 10th year. And even 10th year, you are lucky if you get it. Many people they don't get it even when there is the 10, maybe 15 or 16, then they may start getting something, right? Okay, so some people they are in a great hurry. For the first year they want to get it, right? So what I'm saying is that this one, that ultimate truth exists, ultimate exists, but ultimate does not exist ultimately. At least we should be able to say this for the time being. Nothing exists ultimately, including ultimate. You're getting it? How? Ultimate exists, but it does not exist ultimately. So this we should be getting, and you're very lucky. You're supposed to be getting in just a few months. People get after 10 years or 12 years, right? Okay, so we should be getting after studying the Madhyamika Avatar, right? Okay, so the point is that the self-characteristics does not exist according to Svatandra Madhyamika, except self-characteristics the existing, not ultimately, but conventionally, the self-characteristic exists. Whereas for Prasangikas, self-characteristics not only it does not exist ultimately, it does not exist conventionally as well. So this is a distinction made between Svatandra Madhyamika and Prasangika. Okay, now there's some other points. I don't want to go through them now. Now let me go direct to this very important point, which I personally think is very important, right? Okay, say in what way the study of the 10 systems help us study the 10 systems, including the study of the 10 systems of the non-Buddhist schools, help us to eventually get to the Prasangika's understanding of the ultimate reality, dreamlike nature of all phenomena. So this is so important. Okay, dreamlike nature of all phenomena, meaning that nothing really exists objectively. Say in the dream, we may go through nightmares, we may go through so much of obsession, fear, agitation, so forth. And then you wake up, all this agitation, fear, obsession, nightmare, everything dissolves. Knowing that whatever I encountered in the dream, they did not exist the way they appear to me as objectively real. They're all just coming from my mind, right? Not only coming from my mind, they're all just imputed by my mind, right? Okay, so not meaning that nothing really exists objectively. Okay, so this concept is the final legacy of the Buddha Shakyamuni appearing on this earth. This is a final legacy. Without this, we will come to realize from our own experience, little experience, after studying this and practicing this, that there is no liberation from samsara. It's just a matter of, say, in the dream, You become a good person, right? And then you meet with a bad person, again you slide down to become a bad person, and again, because of your bad experiences, somebody says, no, you're suffering because you did this, oh, I should rectify. Again you rectify the dream, again you experience happiness. So this is always what is happening in the dream. In the dream you become a saint, you become an ordinary person, you become a saint, ordinary person. Sickness, aging, death, like this, right? Only if we realize that nothing really exists objectively. Objective means, as opposed to subject, the object. The moment you see anything, even an atom of objectivity there, your mind will be pulled by the object. Your mind, oh, there's an object there, which means that in a very subtle form, the mind is pulled by the object. There's objectivity there, there's an object there, where your mind can flow. So the moment your mind flows towards the object, that object is the one which made your mind to flow towards that. That flow of the mind is the involuntary act. This involuntary act is the loss of freedom. Loss of freedom is samsara. So therefore, however exotic a philosophy is, as long as one adheres to a belief in even a single tiny atom of intrinsic objective existence, you are not freed. Lack of freedom is samsara, that is misery. Only if you realize that nothing, not even a single atom of the universe, exists objectively, only then can we be freed from samsara, freed from the entanglement of the flow, involuntary flow of the mind towards the object that stops. So therefore, seeing that everything, including the mind, everything is just the imputation of your own mind. Only if you get this, this is the final legacy, this is the final freedom from samsara, and this is the greatest legacy left to us, to our very compassionate teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Okay, with this, because that this concept is so profound, so all these 10 systems, they serve like a staircase for us to get to that, the plateau of the emptiness of objectivity. So in what way? So these help us. Okay, first, say the 10 systems, say the 10 systems which predated the Buddha Shakyamuni's the teachings. So these 10 systems, they reflect how we think pertaining to the final object, which is the self. That we grasp at this self to be so objectively real. So this is very truly like a mirror, showing a mirror by the philosophy which predates the Buddha, and philosophy which also came later to the Buddha, other philosophies. They serve like a mirror to us that this is what is meant by grasping at this self to be objectively real. That's very true. This is exactly how it comes from the mind. Okay, this is how we start. Then you come with a question mark, whether or not it truly exists the way I believe and the way presented by these 10 systems. Question mark. So that requires the openness in our thinking. Openness. And not only openness, intelligence is required. Right? And not only intelligence, aspiration, enthusiasm required, that somehow the miseries, I don't want to go through these miseries, and somebody said that these miseries are all due to disbelief. I want to check it if it is true or not. Then you start with the Vaibhashika. So Vaibhashika, right? So basically Vaibhashika and Svatantra, the Svatantra school, these two schools, while Vaibhashika serves like the first step. You climb it. What is that first step provided by Vaibhashika? Is pertaining to the gross selflessness of person, emptiness of autonomous, okay, first emptiness of permanent unitary independent self, and then emptiness of autonomous substance self. These two are provided by Vaibhashika. right? Same, it is like onion. Onion, we think that inside there must be something so delicious there, something, and then you peel the first one. You peel the first, oh, it's the same thing. What I peel is just inside the same, there's nothing special there. You first peel the layer, and then say the emptiness of permanent unitary independent and emptiness of autonomous substantial cell. Then you go to Southern school. Southern does not have any additional thing to give you, but it gives us incredible tool of what is known as that things can potentially come into being by the power of your conceptual mind. Right? So finally, what Prasanga is going to give us or tell us is that nothing really exists objectively. Everything is just coming from the imputation by your thoughts. So now, the Southern school gives us the first implement or the instrument for us, saying that it is not necessary that things should always exist with a substance. Things can exist by the power of your thoughts. That is also possible. So that opens up the possibility that what the Prasanga said, everything exists by the power of the mind. Oh, what Southern school says, that's amazing. That it tallies with what Prasanga is saying, although it's not 100% the same. But they said that something can exist by the power of the thought process. Okay. Then we move to the Chittamatra. So Chittamatra, when presenting the final, say, the emptiness, the status of phenomena. So the three versions, what are they? Emptiness of external reality, emptiness of the separateness of the substantial separateness of the subject and object, and then finally emptiness of the objects being true referent of the label that object, right? So with the third one, right, emptiness of objects being the true referent, meaning that the flower is not the true referent of the label. The flower is not the true referent. The flower is not the true referent. Then how did it become the referent of the label flower? By imputation. Again, Chittamatra, they come up with the very profound understanding of what is known as imputation. You getting it? It's amazing. We think that this flower is a true referent of the label flower, but it is not. That it becomes the referent of the label flower by the imputation, right? This is amazing. So that takes us there. And then finally we go to the Svatandra Madhyamika. Svatandra Madhyamika, they talk that nothing exists truly. Nothing exists independently, nothing exists truly. So it is almost like the Prasanga's view. Then where do we find the distinction? Where do we find the distinction between Svatandra Madhyamika and Prasanga? If we don't find the distinction, then there is no way by which we can get the Prasanga's philosophy. Prasanga's the final import of the Buddha's, the philosophy of the emptiness, the final legacy left by the Buddha. So for that matter, we should see the distinction between Prasanga and Svatandra Madhyamika. Only if we are able to see a very clear distinction between Prasanga's position and this Svatandra Madhyamika's position, if you see a very clear distinction, and that what the Svatandra Madhyamika says, you reject it by the Prasanga, then finally you are able to peel the final, the layer. Peeling that, what is left? Nothing is left. From the object, nothing is left. So you see that nothing is left from the object, then things still operate. Yes, things operate. How do they operate then? Not from the object. Subjectively. Only subjectively. Merely subjectively. That comes. So how can we do, what is that thing which Svatandra Madhyamika accepts, which the Prasanga does not accept? That is the self-characteristic existing on the conventional level. You're getting it? Self-characteristic, right? Existing on the conventional level. Prasanga says self-characteristic, not only it does not exist on the ultimate level, it does not exist on the conventional level as well, right? Okay, now the next question, still the next question is, what does it mean by self-characteristic existing on the conventional level? What do you mean by that? Or in other words, how can you say that Prasangika, the Svatantrika Madhyamika believes in that? What makes us believe? What makes us believe that Svatantrika Madhyamika accepts self-characteristic on the conventional level? What makes us believe that? What makes us think that? Okay, so this is question. So for that matter, so one clue is that, say, when you ask, where is the self? I'm here. After seeing the self, which is on the conventional level, still you ask, where's the self? My consciousness. Then it goes beyond the conventionality. It goes beyond conventionality. Going beyond conventionality is known as the self-characteristic. According to Prasangika, nothing exists as a self-characteristic. It's all from the others imputation, nothing from the self. It's all from the others imputation, nothing from the self, right? So self-characteristic on the conventional level, what is that thing which is more, which the Svatantrika Madhyamika accepts little more than the mere conventionality, that is the self existing, the mental consciousness accepted as the self. So that is a clear indication that they believe in a self which is little more than the conventionality. Little more than conventionality means, conventional means is coming from the subject, little more than the subject means from the object. Right? That is the self-characteristic. So that self-characteristic, the self, the mind to be the self, is what is known as the self-characteristics. This is what they accept to exist on the conventional level, which, when you reject it by the Prasangika, by following the Prasangika's reasoning, when you say that nothing really exists there from the object side, you reach the Prasangika's version of emptiness. Okay, so we will, we'll stop here. And then say, I know that there are many more questions. I'll be very happy to, okay, Tesha, do you have a question? Yes. Okay, maybe one question or more questions? Okay then, Lokesh, do you have a question? 2 questions. Okay, more questions? If not, we'll do the 2 questions, and shoot, if you have more questions, feel free to write to the coordinator with the questions, and I'll be very happy to give the answers written, and will be uploaded. Right? Everybody will see the answers. And all these questions that you might have pertaining to this will surely be addressed. We have to address all these questions, and particularly during the study of the Madhyamika Avatar, more precisely during Madhyamika Avatar, and many of them will be dealt with during the Pramanavartika as well. And of course, during Abhisambandhankara. Okay, yes, Tejala.
Krishna, if Svatantrika Madhyamika does not posit true self-characteristics at the ultimate level, so when we say what is selflessness according to Svatantrika Madhyamika, we say selflessness of true existence without rejecting objective existence. So I feel that there's some contradiction there.
Okay.
And how do I reconcile?
So if you're kind to me, you should be able to pinpoint the contradiction. Don't just say that I see contradiction.
Because we are saying that they are not positing self-characteristics at the ultimate level, which means they are not accepting objective existence.
Don't mix the Prasangika philosophy. According to their philosophy,
according to Svatantrika Madhyamika,
yes,
we just said that they don't accept self-characteristics
on the ultimate level. Ultimately, nothing exists.
Which means, but when we describe their selflessness, the 4th level of selflessness, we say selflessness of true existence without rejecting objective existence.
Yes.
So I thought that is related to the ultimate level. Like what?
Which one?
This selflessness of true existence without rejecting objective existence.
Yes.
Emptiness.
Yes.
According to Svatantrika Madhyamika.
Yes.
So it seems like they are accepting objective existence at the ultimate level. They are rejecting true existence.
No, they accept objective existence. They don't accept objective existence on the ultimate level. Ultimate level, don't understand. Don't make the ultimate level from the point of view of Svatantika and from the point of view of Prasanga, these two are very different. What constitutes the ultimate level is again different. One is very gross, one is very subtle. Anyway, this is a very good question, right? Very good question. But this will surely be, should be one of the key things to be addressed during Madhyamaka Avatar. Right? Good. Next, Lokesh.
Sorry, probably this is also a question to be covered later. But in Prasangika and only at the conventional level discussion, at one time we say that the self-characteristics are rejected on conventional level. At the same time we say externality is there. The reconciliation of them is difficult for me because if it is imputed on the conventional level also, that means the externality is rejected because it is the mind and the imputation by the mind. Whereas externality means there are duality, there is this external thing there. So that...
Okay, I think the question is, if you reject any degree of self-characteristics, if you reject any degree of objectivity, how can one possibly posit external reality? This question, right? This is a very good question. This is a very good question. It is big. For this, we need Narada Master's course. If not for this question, we don't need the Narada Master's course, right? Because I have been constantly saying that even the great acclaimed professors forget about making distinction between the Prasangika and Svatantra Madhyamika. They cannot make distinction even between Prasangika and Chittamatra. They think that these two are same. The philosopher was the same, right? So therefore, this is where Narada Master's course becomes very precious, right? Okay, now the point is, it's just a very clue, I'm going to give a clue, but the real understanding can come only later on, provided you do not study Madhyamaka Avatar in your past life, right? Then it will come a little later. If you study before, then the answer that I'm giving, you make an answer right there, right? Okay, it doesn't mean that I understand it. It doesn't mean that I'm imitating my teachers, right? Okay, so the point is that say you reject all degrees of objectivity, which means from the object nothing is there. Then do things exist or not? Answer is yes, things exist. If things exist, they don't exist objectively. How do they exist? Subjectively. What do you mean by subjectively? Subjectively means just the conventions. For example, say which lane is correct, right lane is correct or left lane is correct. The lane is going to tell us, not going to tell us. It's a convention created by the people, right? And then when you drive on the right, you'll be in problem in India, right? So when it's America, if you drive from the left, you'll be in problem. The road will not tell you, the object will not tell you that you're in problem, you're in wrong lane. It's just a convention. So now everything becomes the mere convention. If it is mere convention, we have to respect the convention. And the convention has said that I came from outside. I came from outside and it was a little cold. Now coming inside, I feel warm and it's nice. So outside, inside is there. In the mere conventional conversation, outside, inside, everything is there. Now soon after this, in 2 minutes, we will, after the prayers, then we will all go out. Out is there, in is there, right? So this is how that is accepted on the mere conventional level. So the externality, outside means externality, right? Not the objective externality, but the externality. So we have to make a distinction between objective externality and the externality coming from the mere convention. So on the mere convention level, we see that what the convention accepts is what the Prasanga accepts. So the external, internal, everything is there, right? Okay, so this is the beauty of the Prasangika's philosophy. You got it?
Maybe.
Partly?
Partly maybe.
Which means that you have studied half in your past life. Okay, thank you. Any more questions? If not, we'll do end direction prayer. Okay, page 278. Okay, this is in a way is a very auspicious coincidence that we came to a clean completion of the study of the 10 systems of the most venerable the Kunchen Jingme Wangpo. So precious, amazingly brilliant text, and really true. In its true to the meaning and the sense, a brilliant text, amazingly a great the classic. And then it's the coming to the end of the 1 year, and then the new year is now in 2 days time. So we'll carry forth this study of the 10th system in the form of the Madhyamaka Avatar by the incredibly great saint scholar Acharya Chandrakirti, and commented upon by the amazing, we are so fortunate, Lama Tsongkhapa. Just read the commentaries, and of course, given that we have to depend on the English translation, even the materials translation. So this is invariably there's going to be some limitation there, but read the writings of Lama Tsongkhapa is gifted, and even the great scholars from the other traditions, Sakya, Kagyu, Nyingma, they are all praised Lama Tsongkhapa for his incredibly great great legacy led by him in terms of the Madhyamik, in terms of the emptiness. Okay, so we are very fortunate. So coming to a very clean completion of this, the 10th system in this year, and then carrying forth this main concept to proliferate the insight by way of the Acharya Chandrakirti's text. We'll dedicate all these merits for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the true source of joy and happiness on this earth, and that his wishes be fulfilled spontaneously. And let us also dedicate the merits, and that the light of the wisdom of the emptiness, the light of the wisdom of dependent origination, the light of the wisdom of bodhicitta flourish in the minds of all demon sentient beings, so that the darkness of the self-grasping ignorance and the darkness of self-centered attitude are eliminated for good, and that they experience the bounties of happiness eternally. And let me personally dedicate the merits thus gathered, that each one of you, both the regular students as well as the online participants, may each one of you soon see the dawn of the wisdom of emptiness, wisdom of dependent origination, and the light of the incredibly beautiful bodhicitta, embracing all of the demon sentient beings equally. May you see the dawn of these two beautiful minds, and that each one of you becomes such a reliable guide to lead all demon sentient beings towards ultimate happiness. May the teaching of bodhicitta flourish in all 10 directions. May the teaching of the wisdom of emptiness flourish in all 10 directions in the minds of sentient beings, present and future. May all the great learning centers, such as Gandhin, Debung, Sera, and all the academic, the study centers of the Sakya, Kagyu, Nyingma, Gelug, all of them, may all the activities of the Dharma flourish, and that as many can experience, can relish the outcome of the Dharma from these centers. And may all the enlightened teachers, all the great upholders of this brilliant knowledge tradition, may they live long and their wishes be fulfilled spontaneously. Okay, with that in mind, let's do the dedication prayer. Read the dedication, page 278. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenri Sithans and Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Kanrira Gorve Shinganzo, Pendon Dewa Madu Chungbe Ne, Jere Singwa Tenzin Gyazo Yin Shabe Sede Badu Dengyuroji. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samadhavatra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. Jambe Babu Chedara Kemba Dan Kondo Zambo Dian Dejindo Deda Gunge Jesu Dadobjir Yawa Deda Tamjirabdu. I dedicate all these once thus go on of the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Dezom Jebe Gyawa Tamjege Ngowa Kana Chodu Ngabai Age Geve Zawa Digunya Sambo Jeje Rado Ngovarage. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Chanju Semjo Rembo Che Page Panam Ge Gyoro Che Ge Banyamba Nebaya Kone Kondo Pevaresho. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate a merit that's gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching and realization. May in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahayana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect in the 2 stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I gentlemen full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge in the Triple Gem, I confess the negativities individually, I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings, I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. The path of union of emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protector of both the Dharma and the beings of the snowland. With the lotus soul that tends in Gyatso, we supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. Donye Ninja Zondo Jobelam, Chejere Selze Kanje Dendrugun, Chana Pemo Tenzin Gyatsola, Soa Devzo Shendo Nandro Sho. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the 3 jewels. Lolando Begewe Dembala, Kue Najo Sujen Sumedi, Samjurni Bejuba Maduba, Chosum Dembe Zeni Chuguruchi. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of stages of the past, may quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may always be guided by Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings of dependent origination in particular, even in the course of my life. Okay, good night.